ladies and gentlemen, filmmakers and moviegoers alike, welcome to this week's episode of Critically Casual. I'm Srekcuf, or Steven, or whatever the hell you want to call me. And that's Dorkydev over there. Hi, Dev. What's up?
Hi, that was a different kind of intro.
It was. Shaking things up. Now, like the ground. Maybe topple some buildings.
Yeah.
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 Never know what will stick.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah. And how you doing? Anything you want to talk about before we?
No.
No.
Let's just get this over with.
Okay, we're gonna hop.
This is gonna be a roller coaster of an episode.
This really is.
Like, fuck.
Yeah. So let's get on in here. Let's start talking about our first movie today, which is. Well, I'm just kidding. Let's talk about what we're having today, which I've called this week "Real Big Animals," which I kind of wish I mentioned something about Strange New Worlds or like mysterious portals or something. But you know, we got real big animals.
You could have said, I want to make a pun with playing with portals, or thinking with portals, something like that.
We need a Gladys
that's
line.
like fighting with portals.
Mm-hmm. It's, too clever for us, I think. Oh well.
There's a way to rope it in.
Yeah, we'll get in there somewhere at some point. Well, one of us will figure it out before the end of the show.
No, we won't.
But yeah, so we're gonna talk about Monster Hunter. Then we're gonna talk about Godzilla versus Kong, and then we'll wrap everything up. End the show. So I mean, I guess it's time to start talking about the thing, the stuff, let's start talking about Monster Hunter.
Ah!
That bad, huh? I'm just kidding. We watched this movie together, by the way, people.
Oh my god, man. That was excruciating watching this.
I don't know how we do it, but we always there's some movies that we pick that are really quite bad.
I'm gonna reiterate that with that you pick.
No, not at all. This isn't Steven's choice month, obviously.
You always pick them. You always pick the ones. And I'm like, how is it this bad?
Well,
you picked Death Note. You're the reason why we watched Death Note. And now I've seen this, which I could say, personally, I think I hate this as much as Death Note.
Okay, I don't blame you. Because I really don't blame you. This is not a good movie.
It's not worse.
I wanted to say something that you're lucky, because there was moments when I was toying the ideas of doing Shark Boy and Lava Girl and We Could Be Heroes, the sequel. I was like,
that would have probably been better.
Really? You think that would have been better than this?
They have the excuse of being kids' movies, Steven.
But
this doesn't have that.
But this has the excuse of us being able to use it to play off Monster Hunter Rise searches.
Okay, you know what? That's fair. Good job. You know what? Actually,
I played some things.
There. You played some things, so I'll give you that. Unfortunately, this movie is still garbage.
It really is. For me, a lot of it just has to do with, honestly, it's there's not one single thing that I could say that's bad, because almost all of it is bad. But to me, I think the worst thing is the character motivation. I know for you, it's probably the CG monsters.
No, that's not even the worst part.
Oh.
I'm 100% agreeing with you with character.
Okay, yeah, especially because
that is the worst part of this movie.
Huh.
Artemis, played by Mila Jovovich, or Jovovich.
Jovovich.
I'll never be able to say it. Jovovich.
I have no idea, but she's cool, and we'll see her again later.
What?
Yeah, we'll see her at the end of the month.
Oh, right. Okay. Right. Yeah. Fifth Element. Sorry.
Foreshadowing for 4 weeks from now.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, that was you started and ended the month with this. Okay,
yeah.
Well, here we are.
It's like I didn't plan that one, actually. That's convenient.
Apparently. Man, I don't know who decided that this was a good idea. Because it's just not good.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know how else to put it. This isn't a good movie, and the character sucks. Our characters suck. Our monsters kind of suck. Um, our pacing of this movie is an hour and 43 minutes, right? It fucking feels like I sat through the Snyder Cut.
It was kind of hilarious listening to like the whole conversation that we had. It was like 20 minutes in. We're like, oh, it feels like we've been here for 2 hours.
We were a half hour away and realized that like there's still more plot apparently, and I was like, how is there still more plot? Why are we 2/3 of the way through and now we're adding more? Also, you know what's a bad idea? Making it so the two characters don't understand each other, but they do, because like for some reason Hunter just continually understands what Artemis is saying somehow,
Mm-hmm.
and like understands what she's referring to
Yeah,
or like talking about without actually getting like a reference thing to it.
there are strange, weird moments where they can 100% understand, but then like moments later they'll be like, huh, you said something I don't understand and it's funny.
And then like just also the fact that I mean, minor spoiler, but Ron Perlman's in this, and he's the only person from that world that speaks English. But also, if this world was thousands of years ago where they went through, English doesn't make sense. Because guess what? That wouldn't have been the primary language of the time. Because, like, history, bro.
I mean,
Anglo-Saxon languages, like, as we know as English, how he was speaking it would have been like 1,000 years later, maybe.
I mean, maybe
1,500.
I don't know how old he's talking here.
He said thousands of years ago.
Okay, so do you think the British expansion of the conquest was around thousands of years? I'm just kidding.
It wasn't. That's the thing.
No, yeah. Especially like the one thing I did enjoy at least is they didn't have a language that they can communicate with until Ron Perlman showed up. It's just that because I would have liked that. Like,
I 100% agree. You can make a good movie using that.
Like I think it was literally Team 4-Star when they were like when they first landed on planet Namek, when they make a joke that the Namekians are like, "Oh, we got to speak the universe's common language, English," and like, yeah, like I am just very happy that they avoided that like they couldn't actually communicate perfectly. But as you said, they have weird moments where they can, and they can correlate things for random reasons, and some moments
but also the other thing about it too is like we don't understand Hunter. Like, if you're gonna do that, make it so we can at least understand both of them.
Yeah.
In some way. Like, without it being the fucking like one like because it makes Hunter look like an idiot in this movie. And I don't like that because maybe a little bit of my brain doing this thing.
Hang on. I'm about to be okay, here we go. Are we about to have an incel moment? We're like, woman is better than man character.
No.
Okay.
I'm gonna have a little bit of the race card, being that it almost feels white saviory.
Okay.
She comes in and kind of she saves him multiple times in this movie.
But he saves her multiple times too.
Yeah, but he's not portrayed as an idiot, but he comes off as an idiot because of this movie, if that makes sense. Like, and they give and take, but like it's just the fact that like Ron Perlman comes in and the language he's speaking is English, right? Like, it seems a little, because like again, if you're gonna go thousands of years ago, he shouldn't be speaking English. Like genuinely.
a better idea would have been. So I'm gonna jump back for a second because the movie starts with us and Artemis's group of people together in her military group driving on the tundra.
That's not where the movie
It
starts.
starts with her main character there.
Okay, fair.
Thank you. So she's doing the thing, and then portal happens, and she lands in the desert. And during all of this time, where we get all this useless character exposition on these characters that really doesn't matter and takes up a lot of time, we could have at least used this to establish something different. Like, say, one of the people in her group speaks, I don't know, some, we'll say Arabic, because it's an ancient language, one that's been around since the beginning of mass religion, modern religions at least. So
That's a good one. You could have gone. You could also go with an Eastern language, like
mhm.
Mandarin. That's the one my brain just draws on because there's like Japanese stuff like that. Like languages from the East as
Yeah,
well would have made
and
sense.
then make our main character know English and that language, and they can
Yeah,
establish that by having one of the members in her troop as that person who knows that language. And then later on, when this honestly would be better as a movie with almost no English.
honestly, yeah. It just this movie just it does a lot wrong, and it makes so many things just seem so goddamn pointless in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are multiple groups in this movie, okay,
Yeah,
that end up being like introduced just to die.
yeah. Unless
And
they're the very first group of people, then they don't die at all.
no,
Oh wait, no, yeah. There's a couple of them. I remember that. Yeah.
there's a good all the ones that weren't Ron Perlman. It's how I'll put it. Like the fuck. I just again, this movie just does dumb shit, and I just don't get it.
Yeah. Like if I were to rapid fire a couple of the things that caught my attention would be a lot of the like the bad CG monsters themselves look cartoony, except for the trailer shots. Those look pretty good. But once you get past those, then it's like, oh come on, this is really bad. Like sometimes it could be like monsters sliding a little bit, or just like the textures and the colors that they have, and like
Oh yeah.
it's just weird and cartoony.
There were multiple times where with like I went, oh, that's a good shot. Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Like before I could finish saying that's a good shot, it was ruined by the next shot.
Which,
So like,
unfortunately for this movie, is very quickly because the camera cuts are super fast and frequent. Where it's like, hey, we're here, we're here, we're here, we're here, we're here. So like, I made the joke at the very beginning of the movie that's like she jumps from the top of a thing down to like from a rock down to something else, and it takes 5 different camera cuts from them to get to the top of the rock to them to land on the ground. While a good movie would somehow have figured out to do it all in one and make it all still fit with an even longer take, you
a
know?
good video game movie. I'm gonna predict a good video game movie. From what I've seen, because they did a Meet the Cast recently
Hmm.
with Mortal Kombat,
Okay.
and I watched it. There's a lot of good stunt work going into that movie, which is awesome because
It's a
it's a fighting movie.
yeah, it's a
So
martial arts
yeah,
movie. So just with
Monster Hunter should have
intense
some
action.
good, should have great stunts in it to see
Mhm.
because like it's an epic. Like you play Monster Hunter, it's an epic. You know?
Yeah, they tease it at the very end of the movie. One of the things that Monster Hunter has is high mobility weapons, and I think it's Hunter at the end of the movie who uses the spear, and you see him like jump up using that spear. That's just the very basic, like one of the only times you see that kind of movement in this movie, and it's very common in the game where somebody's jumping around the person the entire time, and it was kind of upsetting and a little boring. But I mean, it's of course we're in real world and things are limited, but still they had everything else cartoony and almost every other weapon show up. Almost every other weapon, not every weapon. So,
Well, and then like, did they really do the weapons justice in this movie?
not really, I would say either. especially because a lot of them, just looking at them, looked so, like, I don't know, fake.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like,
Like,
I had to look up here because I remember for Monster Hunter World coming out, Rooster Teeth used to have like a prop building show,
yeah.
and they built the exact sword that you see in the picture that when you see pull up Monster Hunter on IMDb. Like, you get to see that sword, and I mean, I'll be honest, theirs looks better here, but it still looks fake. Like, and I understand that's just this world, and you have to like have a level of what's the word I'm thinking of?
Realism?
No, the other one. The opposite of
Uh,
that. Suspension of disbelief.
Suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just this movie asks for too much, especially too because like I said, the character decisions. The key moment for me that really made me angry was like all of the soldiers in early on were like, what are we gonna do, boss? And our main character Artemis goes, we're just gonna keep going forward because we're soldiers and that's what we do. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There was no thought behind what they were gonna do. It was just, we're soldiers and we go forward. That's that. And like, it's so basic. Like, they just
But
needed
where is forward, boss?
yeah, and they just needed the plot to go on. And like, we've complained about this before where we felt like characters needed to be more a part of the story rather than being dragged along by the story. And this has a lot of Artemis being dragged along by Hunter to be able to do things. I mean, sure, it kind of makes sense because they can't communicate, but it's not, that's not the only reason.
Well, also vice versa. There are times where Artemis is dragging Hunter.
That is true. There's a whole sequence where yeah, it yeah, it
I hate this movie. I do hate this movie. It's bad. It pisses me off because, like, let's be real. The last 2 years, 3 years, since 2018, video game movies have been getting better and better. It's awesome. Like, we went from what we did Tomb Raider and Rampage, which were both very different types of movies, but I think better than what people gave them. At least in the sense of video game movies, they were better. 2020, we got Detective fucking Pikachu, which was
pretty
the
damn great.
coolest fucking thing because it brought Pokemon into the real world and made it believable. Like, yeah, I knew all the Pokemon were CGI, but at the same time, it was fucking awesome. Like, it looked so cool. And then Sonic was fun. Like, it was stupid, but it was fun at the same time. And it knew it was going to be a stupid, fun movie. So it did that. And then we have like Mortal Kombat coming out later this month.
Which we're not seeing until next month, but it's okay.
Yeah, we'll see at the beginning of May. But like, which looks fucking amazing. And looks like it, you know, again, like each one of those had some of the heart from what they what they are derived from. And you could put those into those worlds, right? With those characters. And then there's this. And it just falls short on so many fucking leagues. And it's boring. It's mind-numbing. It's so stupid. The action is actionless. Like, I don't know how you make like fighting giant monsters boring, but they sure as shit did it.
By barely actually fighting the giant monsters for one, and having you fight random spider things, or hide in a hut and fight your other human companion,
or spin around your flamey weapons to
it's the eye of the tiger.
That was the dumbest thing. Let me just swing this around. Let me swing these around. Don't go here, other monsters. Like, seriously. It's dumb, and I hate it. I hate this movie. I just
don't like fire, Dev.
I don't care. This movie sucks.
Yeah. And like for me, the last part, the one thing that really like tips it over the edge to be like, this just sucks, is the product placement. There is a lot of fucking like, here's Coke, here's Hershey, here's more Coke, here's more chocolate Hershey. Like, It's too much.
Yeah, when it does the product placement, it does the product placement.
Mhm.
Like, I understand a movie needs product placement in a lot of
What
cases
if,
to
by the
do.
way, this movie was sponsored by Pepsi and we never got to see the Pepsi logo? Which, because we got to
I
see the
don't think
Coke
they.
can ran over.
Well, I mean, that Pepsi wouldn't have paid for that. It would have been a Pepsi can still.
Yeah.
No, like, yeah, I mean, in other movies, when there's product placement, for the most part, it's not egregious.
Mhm.
Um, I'm gonna look at like MCU. Their product placement doesn't feel egregious. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it feels totally fine.
Yeah. It's part of the world. Like it's literally just like ads you would see in the world.
Or yeah,
Um,
at the most egregious one I could think of is the Denny's product placement where someone flies through a Denny's, and that might just be
that's
or
Superman
DC. Yeah.
with an IHOP.
Uh,
That is egregious as fuck. Like, I'm not gonna lie about that one. That was egregious. I think he flies into a Sears or Lowe's too. I can't remember.
That's product placement, baby.
And he got punted from one to the other. Like, you know. Um,
Go shopping here. Once it's rebuilt.
but like, for the most part, like product placement can be done well. Like, the problem with this one was that like they hold the shots too long.
Mm-hmm.
With the Coke can, it literally sits there for like, I don't know, a good, I want to say 10 seconds before anything happens. This is the first shot after
I
the
think you're
Monster Hunter trailer.
exaggerating a little bit, but
I mean, is it exaggerating by much?
I would probably, well, yes, actually, because editing for you today, there's a big difference between like a 20-second and a 10-second video moment in a video.
That
So
is fair. Give me a second, then. I'm gonna be this guy, because we should still have it rented.
yeah, I think so.
Your movies,
And I'm
Monster Hunter.
pretty sure it's only like 5 seconds for the whole segment, even with it crushed.
I gotta find this now.
Yeah. This time, it's not an argument about if the cocaine has spots, though. So that's good.
Ah, shut the fuck up, you. All right, let's see. Coke can shows into frame. It's about 6 seconds.
6 seconds total?
6 seconds.
Okay.
Like, the Coke can comes into frame, but you don't see the logo yet. And then, like, a second after that, you see the logo. So it's about 5 seconds of logo. And then it gets run over.
Okay. Still, much longer than it needed to be.
100%.
Mm-hmm. And
Fully agree on that.
it's just, I wouldn't recommend watching this movie, honestly.
No, I can't recommend it to anyone. Genuinely. I cannot. I can't even recommend this as, like, a joke watch.
Like, especially, too, because, like, remember in the movie how I was literally able, like, hey, this is gonna happen. Because you were sitting there being like, I don't know how they're gonna continue this plot. I was like, you know how this happened? It's because this happened. And this is what's gonna happen. And you're like, I hate you. And I was right.
You were right on every fucking beat. It was like, it was at that point, it was the point where I'm like, how is there still a half hour, like 40 minutes left of this movie? Like, what are we doing?
They hired me. That's what happens. I made this movie.
It's so dumb. Like, the plot there isn't a plot until the last third of this movie. And I'm not usually the guy to harp on this, you know? Genuinely, I'm pretty lenient on plot related stuff because, like, I'm here to have fun.
You know
with
what
a lot of movies.
Bet happened is this was gonna be a 3-movie thing, and the first movie was gonna end when Ron Perlman showed up. Like, that was just gonna be the end of the film because they've conquered, and then end.
I don't even want to see what that looked like because that would have been a far more boring movie.
Probably, yeah. And then the second
I would have
movie,
hated it more.
the second movie would have been that last like half hour to 40 minutes that we got. And then the third movie
You're creating an alternate timeline that I do not want to be a part of.
Yeah, and then the third movie would be what we saw later on. So,
God no. Gods no. Genuinely though, I hate this movie. Like, I know I haven't had a loud rant about it, but like genuinely it's because I've had weirdly enough, like I don't know if I've processed it, but like my brain has literally just been like since I watched it yesterday, it was just a I don't know, a numbing experience.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't want to think about this movie. I don't want to ever experience this movie again. Like at least with Death Note, I could at least find some things to poke fun at
Mm-hmm.
or some enjoyment with William Dafoe. But like everyone else, everything in this movie is just it's bad, man. Like it's just bad. There's no characters I like in this movie. Ron Perlman, one of those actors that you see in something and you're like, fucking love Ron Perlman. I don't really care that Ron Perlman's in this because it doesn't bring anything to the movie. How do you make Ron Perlman not bring anything to a movie?
Because you can barely tell it's Ron Perlman. With all the hair on him. I'm just kidding.
It's one of those things where, like, I saw it, I'm like, well, maybe this last third will be enjoyable. He like comes in and then leaves for a bit and then comes back, and it's just like, what the fuck was the point of this? Why are we doing this?
And the
I just
reason is because we are making a show on it.
and reviewing it.
Yep. So I guess, are we done ranting about this movie?
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna
I
move on.
never want to speak of this again unless
Okay.
it's to point out that it's not as bad as this is the new Death Note.
So which one are you gonna watch drunk on stream?
The Death Note still.
Okay. Making sure. So Deb, I'm gonna give you your 10 popcorn kernels.
Do you want to guess?
Half a point? Half a kernel?
Am I allowed to give it less?
No.
Okay, then half a point.
I mean,
I don't
no.
care what you were gonna vote on it.
Yeah.
I am tanking the score no matter what.
No, I hear ya.
Because no matter what, it can't get past a 5.5.
Even if I were to give it a solid 10. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. Even if you get a solid 10 on it, it can't reach past a 5.5.
And this movie does not get a solid 10 in any way. So I would give this movie like a 3.5. Maybe, no, actually a 3. Give it a 3. That half is being generous.
All right, so halfway between those would be, I think, a 2, right? Rounding up.
Yes?
All right. I can live with a 2.
And let me actually double check. Do this right. Get my calculator and make sure it's completely perfect. 3 plus 0.5 divided by 2. I did that wrong. Because it came out as 3.25. So it would be a 3.
You added them together and then wait, what did you do wrong? Did you not divide by 2 correctly or some shit? Like, what did you do wrong?
Here we go. It's a 1.625.
Okay, yeah, so a 2.
Wow, that was impressive.
Cheeks. All right.
It made it by the skin of its cheeks.
Before we move on to the next movie.
Before we move on, okay.
I made something before this.
Did you?
You can't really, I mean, you can see it. You can look it up.
Mm-hmm.
I made a new list.
Okay.
This is the video game list of movies, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And this is my preliminary list. I'm going to allow, some changes if need be, but I'm just giving this out there as what I think is the order we should put them in. Okay? So number 6 is obviously going to be Monster Hunter. It is the worst video game movie we've watched. I think we've only really watched 6 video game movies, by the way.
Okay.
Oh, no, I forgot about Angry Bird.
Mm-hmm.
Is there another one I'm missing? Hold on.
There might be. Oh, there honestly probably is. We've watched a lot of movies.
What did we watch with Battleship? I just thought about that. Where the fuck is Battleship? When did we do that? Oh, Prince of Persia. Right. Hmm. All right. I'll allow you to kind of figure out where those two movies can fit in, I guess. Um,
Prince of Persia and which one?
Angry Birds 2. So the order I have is number 6, Monster Hunter, number 5, Battleship. That's why the video is in quotes because it is a game movie, but not a video game movie. But like it's kind of fits the categories. Number 4, I had Tomb Raider. Number 3, Rampage. Number 2, Sonic, and number 1, Detective Pikachu. I will not budge on Detective Pikachu moving because I think it is arguably the best video game movie we've seen yet. I'm gonna say yet because it kind of depends on how Mortal Kombat does.
Yeah, I hear you. Just gonna go through movie posters here really fast because I'm pretty. I mean, do you count the Aladdin video game?
No.
Okay. Let's see.
Like, and that doesn't count because like if it's
Assassin's
like
Creed.
we did watch Assassin's Creed. Shit.
Let's
Shit, you're right.
see. I feel like there's definitely more. I'm only in C's right now.
Jesus.
Yeah, C's, D's. We've watched a lot of movies, my dude. I should actually make a list instead of just having all the posters in a file.
Probably. That'd probably be an easier way for us to do this.
So much easier. That just makes too much sense, you know?
So that was 2016. Angry Birds was 2019, right?
Oh, I have no idea.
I think it was 2019 when we did that.
And we did do Angry Birds 2. You have to remember that as well.
Oh, right, too. Right.
There's a lot of video game movies you're forgetting about.
Well, we didn't watch Angry Birds. We watched Angry Birds 2.
Okay, that's... I'm in the M's right now. Let's see. Some of these I don't remember if they're based off of. We did do the original Pokemon movie, I'm pretty sure.
Right, we did.
Yes, we. I just rolled up on it here.
Pokemon the movie.
Hmm.
Mewtwo's Revenge. uh,
You did put Sonic on there, yeah?
yep.
Okay, just double checking. Watched a lot of fucking movies, man.
Yes, we have.
The Wolverine. Oh, the nut. Some of these movies, as I read the title, I'm like, oh. Some of these movies, I'm like, oh yeah. Okay, yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, so we need to add 4 more into the the list.
Okay. So, can you say your list one more time? Because I wasn't really paying attention.
Okay, so let me add one more slot in here. What I had so far was number 1, Detective Pikachu. Number 2, Sonic. Number 3, Rampage. Number 4, Tomb Raider. Number 5, Battleship. And number 6, Monster Hunter. What we need to add in there is Pikachu. I keep trying to say like Detective Pikachu's in my head when it comes to Pokemon for some reason right now.
Pokemon, the first movie.
Pokemon, the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back, Prince of Persia, Sands of Time, Angry Birds 2, and Assassin's Creed.
Okay. So, when I think of Prince of Persia, Assassin's Creed, and Monster Hunter, they're all probably somewhere around the same level for me.
I would argue Monster Hunter would be the worst.
Okay. So we can still leave Monster Hunter at the bottom. That's fine.
Yeah.
What was fifth again? I'm sorry.
Currently fifth is Battleship.
Battleship. I enjoyed Battleship a lot more than I
Like,
enjoyed those other two. Yeah.
right? Because it was stupid fun.
Yeah. So I hate to say it, but yeah, let's put. So between Prince of Persia and Assassin's Creed, which one was better?
I would say Assassin's Creed.
I'd probably have to agree with you,
Just
honestly.
because also Prince of Persia just has aged
Yeah.
awfully.
Fassbender and Gyllenhaal. I don't know.
Like it has not done well.
Mhm. No, I hear you. So that there, and
Just gotta make
then
sure I gotta make sure I spell everything right.
no worries. And then we have the Pokemon, the first movie, and crap.
And Angry Birds 2.
It's-
I would say Angry Birds 2 also goes below Battleship.
Yeah, I don't think I disagree. Was that the
Does it go below Assassin's Creed?
was that the one that ended with the dragon fart joke?
No, that was Doolittle. Angry Birds 2 was the side plot with the little birds.
Yeah, I remember the little birds. That's the only part I'm remembering right now. Was it the ice island?
Yes.
Okay. And it was the Ludi bird on the ice island. Okay. Um Yeah, that's probably worse than Assassin's Creed, honestly. Seeing as I can
Is it
only
worse than Prince of Persia?
No, because at
Okay.
least Prince of Persia, like at least Angry Birds has the honor of being a kid's cell phone game movie, and they actually made something that's kind of cute
Time.
at some points. There are
All right,
different
so that
qualities
was
that give it a better charm.
10. Oh, I'm just typing these all in.
Wow, we've watched some pretty shitty movies.
You've watched some shitty, like, video game movies. And Creed. That was 2016. Okay, so I'm gonna guess Battleship then will be 6 because would we agree Pokemon the first movie Mewtwo Strikes Back is it better or worse than Battleship?
See, that one's hard because nostalgia.
Right? But I do feel as someone who likes Pokemon, like right now I'm literally wearing a Pokemon shirt.
Mhm.
Is it a good introduction to Pokemon?
First movie, not really, because it throws some weird concepts out there, and like
Right?
Pokemon cloning. But it does at the same time introduce like my favorite meme of like Ash throwing punches at Mewtwo. But then when you really boil it down, that kid, that 10-year-old kid, can hold up monsters that weigh like 90 pounds like this. So he probably got some strong arms, man.
All right, if you had to choose on any given Sunday, would you watch Battleship or Pokemon the first movie Mewtwo Strikes Back?
I mean, this is also somebody. I'm also somebody who watches Ready Player One and Aquaman pretty frequently. So I think right now, sadly, I'm leaning towards Battleship.
Battleship? You know what's funny? Battleship is gonna be the cornerstone on how we rate fucking game-related movies.
And that's
I
bad,
hate it,
yeah.
but I love it at the same time.
It's when I think of other movies too, that like the comparison is it good or bad? I think of giant monster movies too, because I think Pacific Rim. How does this movie compare to Pacific Rim? Because that movie is like just as ridiculous, I'd say, as Battleship.
That's fair.
Yeah. So,
All right, well,
we ready to move on?
yeah, I'll just read off the list real quick and then we'll move on. So that puts the list at this. I'll go 1 to 10. Number 1, Detective Pikachu. Number 2, Sonic. Number 3, Rampage. Number 4, Tomb Raider. Number 5, Battleship. Number 6, Pokemon, the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back. Number 7, Assassin's Creed. Number 8, Angry Birds 2. Number 9, Prince of Persia, Sands of Time. And number 10, Monster Hunter.
All right. Nice.
So list, not really, because there's legitimately, and even then, I feel like we could argue Battleship higher on the list.
Do we want to?
I don't know if I want to do it because I think we both would be like, it could go third.
Yeah, I'm not thinking about Resident Evil. I'm just choosing to ignore it.
Wait till we get there, man.
So yeah,
do we have two separate lists, just Resident Evil list and video game list, or do you just put it into the video game list?
just put it in the video game list, I guess. Or we can have it as like, we'll just put it all together as the Resident Evil franchise in the end. And we'll put like an asterisk, and then we'll have the Resident Evil list right next to it.
Because it'll be in the it'll be slots 10 through whatever,
50.
like
It's like Fast and Furious 27.
I'd rather watch any Fast and Furious movie over like the Resident Evil movies. Easy.
I'm still like thinking about Resident Evil real fast. I'm thinking that I wish they ended at 8 only because it's like fate of the 8. What's gonna happen? And yep, nope. They're on 9 now.
Yeah, and there's got to be a 10.
Well, let's talk about the movie that came out that's the 38th movie in the franchise? Or is it 37th?
It's 4th in the Universal or the Warner Brothers franchise. That's what I'm going to call it. Because if we worry about all the other ones, we will be here forever.
I'm not worried about all of the other movies. I just want to know how many of them there were before this. I can't remember. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just going to ask, how many Godzilla movies are there? Thank goodness Google answers with 36, including this newest movie.
All right. So Godzilla versus Kong. You know what? Hold on. Let me read off. I forgot to read it. You know, I hated this movie so much. I forgot to read it. Can you go back to the Monster Hunter page real quick?
Yep. Okay,
Monster Hunter was released December 18th, 2020 with a budget of $60 million and only made worldwide $33 million. I'm not gonna worry about the rest of the stats because this movie doesn't deserve it. So, and honestly, it made half of its money back. So, you know, fuck yourselves, Monster Hunter. Legitimately.
Okay, back to
fuck yourself.
Godzilla versus Kong.
Godzilla versus Kong, which was released March 31st, 2021, both in theaters and on HBO Max.
Right, for HBO Max.
Seriously. Honestly, listening through that with the headphones and everything, it was great.
I love 4K TVs. They're great.
I can imagine. I have my gaming monitor that I watch it on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty great. Budget $2 million. Opening US made $11 million. Gross US made $48 million. Worldwide made $285 million, which, given everything, I say is a bit of a success.
I'd say so, yeah.
As much of a success as you could be with literally your arguably one of your biggest markets being inaccessible compared to what it would have been.
Mm-hmm.
This movie, I think, would have easily made its budget back in America.
Do you think it would have been one of the highest grossing films of all? I'm just kidding.
Not of all time, no. Like, fuck no. No way. Not everyone wants to see a kaiju monster movie.
Yeah, I can hear that.
Me, on the other hand, I fucking love a kaiju movie. Out of the two of us, I defended King of Monsters.
That's true.
I defended Skull Island, and I defended the first Godzilla. I have defended this franchise because I enjoy stupid shit sometimes.
Are you prepared to defend this movie too?
Yes.
Okay. Good.
100%. Because I know exactly what you're gonna say.
Everyone said it, honestly.
The human characters are really pointless in these movies. But it's been said since the first one. And guess what? This is a fucking kaiju movie. If you're coming here for any plot that isn't lore-based shit, about our two fucking monsters in this movie, then get the fuck out of here. Because guess what? That's not what this is about. This is about King Kong versus God fucking Zilla.
Mhm.
Like, get it on, because like there are literally 3 rounds to this fight, and it's great. I fucking love it, and every one of them is just fun to me.
There's only really 3 rounds to the fight because of movie editing, though. Because the movie was like, looks like blank wins this round, and it's like, then they cut to another part of the movie. But in real time, that's maybe like 2 minutes at most. So that doesn't feel like a break
Fuck
in the
you.
fight.
It's still fun, okay? I still enjoy it. Because we get to see, like, we get a fucking fight with Godzilla in the water where he has just so much of an advantage. But it's still fucking great.
Don't get me wrong. The monster fights in this movie, awesome. By far the best part of the movie. I love the Hong Kong fight, especially with all the fucking colors.
God.
Like, Jesus Christ, this was awesome.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah, the fights themselves were really freaking cool.
Also, like, getting to see because they've talked about in the last, I guess, 3 movies, really. Hollow Earth Theory. And we finally get to, like, explore that a little bit, and it's fucking cool.
I got a random question for you.
Yeah.
How does the Hollow Earth get light?
Yeah, because movie need a movie.
Yeah, I hear you. There's a lot of that in this movie.
It's a fucking kaiju movie. What do you want?
I want good story.
You're not gonna get that in a kaiju movie. You wanna know why? Because our main characters don't fucking talk. Do we want a kaiju movie where Kong and Godzilla are talking out their differences, or do we want to see them punch the shit out of each other, Steven? Yeah, but then we have to fucking have a conversation with them. Yeah, fucking, like, I do say, like, this is also coming from the guy who likes one of the things that they do in this movie with Kong. That's kind of conversation based. That's actually kind of interesting. I enjoy that. But like, also he got big. He been eating good. Well, yeah, he said he was a teenager in Skull Island. No, one. Godzilla, then it went Skull Island, then it went King of Monsters, now it's Godzilla versus Kong. I, you're not. Why are you coming to see this to see like good characters? Like, I'm sorry, but you're not gonna get it here. I'm sorry. It's a fucking kaiju movie. Does Pacific Rim have
Hang on,
a
Dad.
good writing?
You know what's funny?
Huh.
I've been muted this whole time on stream. I just noticed that. Ah, son of a bitch. Well, at least we just started Godzilla versus Kong, so
Fuck.
it's okay. No one cares about Monster Hunter.
Fair point.
It's okay. We've only been live for 51 minutes, and all they could hear was your side of the arguments.
Oh.
I was,
You know, I don't want to be that guy, but it's one of the reasons why I like having a mixer.
no, like the thing was this time around, I redid my hotkeys because I was tired of not being able to see, like, use the browser because I had to, like, click through OBS to be able to do things. And I didn't set a hotkey to unmute myself. So I had OBS closed and I was doing everything. And I was like, oh. Oh.
You could just dub over it, right?
Totally. I know exactly everything I've said this whole time.
Or subtitles.
Totally. Totally.
That'll work for the audio file, right?
Yeah. Let's just essentially let's pretend we just started talking about Godzilla versus King Kong for a second. We don't have to go that far back, honestly. But I just
it still hurts.
Yeah. It's just all I was saying. Monster parts really good, human parts really bad. Connective tissue to get us to the monster parts is what drags this movie out so much. But I'll be honest, monster fight parts really bring the movie up. Really good part. Really good.
Can I back to my argument? Who the fuck cares? If you're coming to a kaiju movie, why expect a good written like plot? I guess I'm just here to see fucking things hit each other. Genuinely, I do my Fast and Furious philosophy with these movies. Okay, I want to see stupid shit happen that I'm going to enjoy. That doesn't make a lick of sense. Honestly, how any of these cities ever survive any of these? No fucking clue. But they do. And it's fucking awesome that these monsters get to do this shit. The fact that we have a cinematic universe that allows us to see giant monsters beat the ever-living shit out of each other in Hong Kong, San Francisco, like Hawaii,
Florida somewhere.
Antarctica, like
the
Boston.
The one that really threw me for a loop, honestly, like I had to wrap my mind around this one for a long time, was the ocean fight on the aircraft carrier. Because I was like, there's no way all of this scale makes sense. And it does if you really think about how big aircraft carriers and these battleships are.
Aircraft carriers are fucking huge, man.
They're just... Yeah, and it's hard for me to like wrap my mind to be like, how can two 250-foot tall monsters stand on top of one aircraft carrier? And I mean, weight-wise, I don't think it's possible.
Doesn't make as much sense.
Yeah.
But it's fucking cool.
Yeah, it's still really fucking cool.
It's one of the coolest moments from the trailer.
Yeah, honestly. Like, every fucking moment, every freaking fight was awesome. The only part that didn't make sense to me happens later on, towards the end of round 2, actually, where beam stuff happens, and I don't want to spoil it. Yeah.
It's in the trailer, so you're not really spoiling it. But
that's the problem. There's a lot of fucking shit in the spoiling trailer. I saw the trailers after this, and I was like, damn it. Because the part I was really happy about, the part that I was able to guess after watching the last movie years ago, I was like, oh, I knew this is going to happen. It's going to be just like this other movie. And I was right, except for the wrong opponent.
Okay, I mean, I genuinely... This movie fucking... If you enjoy giant monster fights, this is a movie for you. Because it's also shorter than the other ones.
Yeah.
It's a brisk, just under 2 hours. Which is, I think, the perfect amount of time for a kaiju movie where you build the lore of the world. I know you don't like exposition jumps, but in a kaiju movie, that's what you need. Because it's not exactly like Godzilla's going to walk over and be like, so this is the lore around... Hold on.
This is the lore around my people. I exist underground and I eat nuclear energy.
He's not going to be doing that, you know?
That, nuclear energy specifically is another thing I have questions about. Because, remember King of the Monsters? How Godzilla was healed? And what happened to our main scientist friends before the nuke went off? Was it just that chamber that was filled with radiation? Or was it the entire core that was supposed to be filled with radiation? We'll find out. Yeah, who cares? Who cares?
Who the fuck? Yeah, movie got a movie, bro.
What
Like,
about security? Is security a thing? Not really. Nah, we didn't.
who the fuck cares?
Movie
Movie got a movie.
got a movie.
Movie got a movie, bro.
Though I gotta be honest, one character, even though like I've been seeing this argument the whole time, which is the monster, the Titan Truth podcast, the B plot, the three characters. A lot of the internet says that they're pointless.
I agree.
I agree for the most part too.
Except they need to be there for one thing.
Yeah,
they're legitimately in this movie
For
to
one
end up
thing.
in the one place at the right time to do the thing.
Mm-hmm. But I gotta say, I like Bernie. Bernie's probably my favorite person, and not because of how crazy he is, but because of his flip phone. And the fact that he's still going around like click, 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 flip. Perfect. This is awesome. This is going to be
Old
trending.
I mean,
like, it makes sense because he doesn't want to be tracked, and those phones don't have tracking devices in them.
Or so you think.
Yeah. It's just funny. I enjoy it. Bernie is my favorite person. Except for the Chekhov's whiskey. That was a little silly.
Wait, what? Chekhov's whiskey? Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Chekhov's whiskey.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, I got you. I got you. I get you now.
Especially
I thought that you were referring to a character. I'm like, who the fuck's name is Whiskey? Oh.
No. Who's Chekhov's whiskey?
I will say I like Rebecca Hall. Oops. Rebecca Hall's character, Elena or Eileen, the main Kong scientist.
Oh yeah.
I like her I like her character in the sense that she feels like, I know she explains a lot of shit, but like it makes sense for her to explain shit because of the background they give her, and she also like does things that make sense. If that make she doesn't do stupid shit like some other people do. She genuinely does things that would make sense for her character to do, I guess.
I think so, for the most part.
And I would say like at least her side of things does that for the most part. The problem is like the Godzilla side, I guess, of things just kind of is there. The people who were in Godzilla movies, they literally are just in this movie to be like, you saw this other movie, so now they're here. And I completely agree. You didn't need a movie. It makes it feel more connected, like because of Monarch and stuff like that. I understand that. But like Millie Bobby Brown's character just like going around doing shit just doesn't make much sense, but it is what it is. Yeah. Like, again, like I said earlier, grand scheme of things, I don't care. I get to see fucking giant monsters punch the shit out of each other in a city, and not necessarily a huge surprise, but one of the coolest goddamn show ups ever for this franchise. I knew it was coming, but it was still so fucking cool.
Like, I knew it was coming too. Well, I hoped it was coming until it happened, and I was like, yeah, it actually happened. Kinda. Not the one I wanted, but still really cool.
Well, you know, if they continue the franchise,
I mean, I still actually have questions though, but we'll get to those questions. I have a lot of questions, and because I have a lot of questions is why I'm gonna give this movie a lower rating. Don't get me wrong. Still like the awesome movie monster fights. Those are really cool. But like I said, all the connective in between parts just really get me.
You just need to learn to turn it off the brain for certain movies, man.
I hear ya. And
there's a certain way.
Some of the things I can enjoy. Like, I really enjoyed the meme part with the axe handle, where it's like him getting the tree shoved down his throat. That was funny. That was pretty darn funny. But there's other stuff that like just kind of like continuously like just leaves me going like, why? How? Who? Like sedation. How does the sedation work? How does the lift off after the fight happen? Like, movie's got a movie. Yes, I hear you. But and I know they skip these questions so movie can movie, but it's like I can't drop drop my suspension of disbelief enough to be like, come on, like, it's too convenient. There needs to be more struggle, and that's probably
Steven,
my ultimate problem with this.
I'm gonna say something, okay?
Mhm.
What you're talking about would probably make you more pissed off at the movie
Possibly.
in the grand scheme. You understand that?
Yeah, because I want more stuff and more depth and whatnot, and people are just there to see monsters fight.
Well, I'm not just saying that. What you're asking for is more time with the human characters.
Mm-hmm.
You know what that gets you?
Mm-hmm.
Godzilla 1,
Yeah.
which you bitched about.
Got Bryan Cranston, man.
You bitched about the human characters in that. And I will agree. The human characters in the first one suck.
Mm-hmm.
Because we get Bryan Cranston and then he's off not even halfway into the movie.
Yeah.
I fully agree with you on that. Still enjoy seeing Godzilla beat the shit out of the Mudos. But, like, man, we've cut down on the time of the movie. We have more monster time with both monsters. And we also just generally get more time to see cool shit. Like, we see an entire different world pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And it's awesome because you're like, oh man, this is cool for this world. I mean, I think what most people complain about these movies is like, well, we should have better developed humans.
Mm-hmm.
But that means more time with the humans.
And I'm kind of okay with that, honestly. Like, because the monster fights in this movie were really fucking good. But if the stuff in between the fights really didn't pull me out, I 100% wouldn't bat an eye at this stuff. Like, I'm okay with more developed humans. It just depends on how they choose to develop those humans. Like,
okay, but then we get less development for the monsters.
Mm-hmm. But the monsters don't really have development.
Yeah, they do.
Well, hang on. Actually, fun fact, by the way. This movie essentially breaks one of Toho's rules on Godzilla. Like, it does and it doesn't simultaneously. Which, Toho's rule is Godzilla can't react to things. He can't really personify. He's just a force of nature. And this movie kind of lets him emote a little bit. Not really, but still.
I mean, it's a silly rule, and I like the I like this Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
See, my thing about it is, then we just get a longer movie, and I don't know if I want the movies to be longer, because then we're gonna get more time in between the fights, and that's just gonna draw out these things. And in my opinion, it's not gonna help the human element, because we're gonna have to then balance the character development with the lore development / story around our monsters.
But how does every other movie do it? Like, they have to develop their threats as well as develop their characters. And I don't have as much problems as I do with monster movies.
Okay. You want to know why?
Why is
because they can do that because all the characters in it talk.
Mm-hmm. I still don't think that, like, I've watched a lot of movies.
Even when they can't talk.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of movies where they can't talk, and they have great character development.
They have ways of finding a way of communication together. There is not a way to communicate with Godzilla.
You don't really need to be able to communicate with Godzilla. You need to communicate with Kong, and Kong can communicate. It doesn't have to be like human, like the language stuff either. Like, it can just be how he experiences his day. Like, the beginning of this movie where we get to see him in his habitat is awesome, because we get to see him wake up, we get to see him like stretch and do his like normal routine and daily stuff, and then like we get to see all of this character that he has, and he doesn't say a fucking word, and we could fill an entire movie with that stuff.
I mean, I agree with you, because personal opinion, I think Skull Island is kind of underrated in the MonsterVerse, but I digress. I think for me though, like if we go down this route, like we might as well just be like, it's gonna be more of a human story, and I don't think we want that in the grand scheme, do we? Like, do we really want like, because then we're gonna get shit like this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna get fucking love stories in it. We're gonna get like other bullshit. We're just gonna get some bullshit because we're not gonna get like the good development that you want, Steven.
I hear you.
We're
But
gonna get the tropes.
But this movie is all tropes already. Well, not all tropes, because there are some cliche dodges in this movie. But them in themselves are also kind of tropes. So,
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, we're gonna get the like to create human like development. We're gonna get tropes because we're not gonna have as much time to them because we're also gonna have to be developing our monsters.
but I think that's okay, honestly.
I don't.
I hear you. I understand. It's
So
not
we
why
get more
you go
like
to the
Godzilla
movie.
1. It's why we get more Godzilla 1, which you didn't like.
I didn't, but because Godzilla 1 also had worse monster fights in it. Like, it didn't have, like, Godzilla 1, I complained that it wasn't good enough humans and it wasn't good enough monsters. But this one has definitely good enough monsters. Now it just doesn't have good enough humans.
You wanna know why? Because we get more time with the monsters.
We get more time with a monster.
Yeah. We get more time with monsters.
Mm-hmm.
We did that with King of Monsters too. We have more time with the monsters, and genuinely, I enjoy that. Because we got to see Ghidorah, we got Radon, we got quite a bit of Godzilla, and we got Mothra. Like, we got time with each of them. And it's cool. Like, that we got that much time with the monsters in that movie. This one, we get a lot of time with Kong. We get some time with Zilla here and there. And like, I think it works because we get more time with the monsters. Like, because then we don't need the humans to be these deep characters.
Not at all. Like, but we could still develop the characters that we have. Like, we could honestly completely get rid of the Titan Truth podcast group and grow the development more with Dr. Lind and whatever her name was that you said that you liked, Eileen. Like, we can develop them more. We could also develop I think her name is Jaya, the girl. Like, we can develop that relationship more. And we don't need all of the like hints of the spoiler of the the hints of the spoiler that comes later on, because it's so already foretold and foreshadowed fairly obviously if you've seen the other movies. So,
well, okay,
but then you don't need to, then for the people who haven't seen it, I still feel like it's pretty obvious, like, especially because he attacks one place and fucks off, and it's like, well, he's a bad guy now.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, like, as much as I do agree that they could have been taken out of the movie. Don't take this as me saying they don't need to be in the. Don't take this as me saying they need to be in the movie.
But they're needed for the final moment.
Okay, yes, but outside of that, I do like that we get. Because, I mean, I do agree if you take them out, I still want to see I guess I want to see the villain side, I guess. From their perspective on things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like, I like
what they're doing.
I personally, with the villains, I am okay with what we get with them because they are so inconsequential that we don't really need to know more. And that's also why I kind of like the one moment in the film. There's one line that was a Bernie line that I was like, man, I really wanted to hear the rest of that speech or whatever it was. Like, that was probably one of my favorite lines because it's a cliche dodge of what normally happens in every bad guy scene. Because these bad guys are so unimportant. So we don't need to know the background and the monologue and whatever.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that, fine, yeah. But I'm more talking about, like, so we can see the buildup of what's being built, I guess. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because, like, if we take everything that they do, like, if we take everything that podcast group does and take that out of the movie, we don't get any of the, like, I guess, figuring out what's going on there, if that makes sense.
To me, that part, honestly, it's...
Because you want to know what I'm going to say?
Sure.
You would complain that it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can agree with that. But I'm not sure if I'd hate it more because I complain about something in every single movie. You could probably pick something out and be like, yeah, I'd probably
No,
complain about that in
I
some
know,
days. So
I know. But I'm more saying like, as in like, I don't think the alternative is better.
I kind of do, but we can agree to disagree on this one. I feel, at least when it comes to human character development.
Well, I'm not even talking about character development. I'm just talking about just like, again, building on, I guess, because for me, I look at that stuff and it's more lore, if that makes sense.
You like the humans just for the lore dumps?
I mean, because it grows the universe, if that makes sense.
I hear you. But isn't that the kind of thing that we don't like about every other movie that does lore?
These are kaiju movies, man.
But that
I don't
doesn't
care.
excuse it. Like,
Yes, it does. For me,
not
100%
really.
it does.
Like, why does
Yeah.
this one thing get a hall pass? Like,
Because other characters can't, because Godzilla can't create the development for himself in that sense. If that makes what I'm trying to iterate, if that makes sense. Like we aren't gonna get a day in the life of Godzilla, if that makes sense. Because Godzilla's never even in movies called Godzilla, like in Godzilla 2014. Him being in there for 11 minutes was like towards the top of the list of how much time he's actually in the movie screen time wise. Like, again, other Godzilla movies, we don't get a lot of Godzilla.
yeah, because past Godzilla movies are about the humans and how they interact with the force of nature that is Godzilla, and how they could sometimes like
But
manage
you want to know
him
what
and
else
get
they do
around
a
him.
lot?
And, yeah, what's that?
They also do a lot of lore dumps.
Which is kind of bad. Those movies were made.
I'm not saying it's not bad.
Yeah, like
but
those
I'm
movies
saying,
were made
like,
forever ago. We can progress.
What is your alternative to the universe?
I feel like I've explained it, but you're like, no, that doesn't make sense. I've explained the alternative.
Okay, yeah, your alternative is we develop humans and get more time with humans.
And that's not a bad thing, because then we can get more
it
fleshed out
is.
conversations, at which we need to better lore dumps themselves, which could make the connective tissue to the fights better. Like,
But then we get less time because then we get more time in between the fights. We get just drawn out moments. Like,
not always.
Maybe they're
not. You don't always have to flesh out every scene to make it a better story. It doesn't have to be longer to be better. We're not Zack Snyder. We don't have to double the length of a film to make it bearable.
that was good. I will laugh at that. No, for me, I'm more talking like, I guess then we lose some of the lore moments, if that makes sense to you. Like for me, if we waste more time on the humans doing human things, we don't get as much time understanding why maybe Kong is doing this, or why Kong would do this and stuff like that. Or why Godzilla might be doing what he's doing, stuff like that. Like, I feel like we get less time of that, and then we're stuck with more time with the humans.
Like, I loved, for instance, the boat scene in the rain, like where we get to see the girl and Kong and Eileen in their interactions together. Like, that is one of my favorite scenes in this movie because of the character development that we get. And sure, it's because 2 out of the 3 characters can communicate with each other, but it's just like, that's still the stuff that I want to see more of. Like, we still get the character development between the girl and Eileen, especially because we have there was no real importance to this girl, honestly, for most of the movie. So, like, the fact that we got to have this little moment that wasn't long and drawn out, but was probably the best, like, development portion when it came to the characters of these 3 characters was awesome. We could clearly have more stuff like that can make this movie fit. Like, a lot of the other characters don't need to be fleshed out. Like, a lot
I'm
of
not
the
gonna
other
argue with that. I love that scene, but I guess my counterpoint to, like, then we kind of just get a day in the life of Kong movie.
Mm-hmm.
And not that I'm arguing that wouldn't be fun.
I mean, that's kind of what this movie already is, though, because we barely get to see any Godzilla.
I guess I guess what I'm getting at is more that I don't want to sacrifice the interesting history that this world has and the awesome fight moments these movies have
Mm-hmm.
for the humans to develop, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And I'm saying you don't need to sacrifice those moments for the human development. You just got to choose which moments are worth developing and which moments are not. And I feel like they spend the wrong time on the wrong moments. And then they have to dump the lore and the exposition all at once.
Well, okay, I guess my question is, how else would you do the lore information?
Honestly, I feel like a lot of the best lore is stuff that you don't bring up on hand. Like, I hated that they constantly mentioned that the ancestors of Godzilla and King Kong have fought before. I think they mentioned it like 3 or 4 times in this movie. And it's like, you don't need to keep bringing it up. And I could be exaggerating, like I do. But that's just one of the simple things that I could change. Like, where we could see more of the stuff where we saw on Skull Island, where you could see the hieroglyphics on the wall of how the lizard and the monkey were fighting. And like, more of just the hidden symbols of Monarch being around in the background and stuff like that. Subtle stuff, like we've talked about in the past, is really cool. And they could continue doing the subtle stuff, but it's just the blatant in your face, like, yeah, he's bigger, so the movie has to happen. So what are we gonna do?
So my personal opinion on that is also that, like, not everyone is gonna get what some of that stuff means, if that makes sense. Like, because Monarch, I liked Monarch being just straight up in your face in Skull Island, because it felt cool that, like, hey, this little thing that they kind of talked about in the last one in Godzilla, they're running this show in this movie. They're here. Get used to it. And then, you know, King of Monsters is set up with them being there and being what they are in the future. And like, for me, I think that then at that point, if you want to do that, then why do we have the human characters?
You know,
as well.
I'm okay with taking the human characters out and just having a full hour and a half of a giant monkey and a giant lizard fighting. As long as it looks cool the whole time. Which it probably would.
I mean, but my counter, like, I don't know if that's what I want. You know what I mean?
But that you said you go to a monster movie just to see the monsters fight. You don't need the character development.
Yeah, but I'm not going to sit there for an hour and a half to see a slugfest of an hour and a half, if that makes sense. Like, you do need breathers.
Now you sound like a writer for Game of Thrones.
What the fuck?
There was an argument that a lot of people had with the Battle of the Bastards and later on episodes with the Night Watch, not the Night Watch, the Night King attacking the Battle of Winterhell, I think it is, where it's just a battle the entire hour and so long, and people are like, how are people going to be entertained by this? It's not possible. A lot of people were entertained by it until the story writing became bad.
If you could see it.
That's true. You just had to have a very high-res TV that could get the depth of black, you know?
Even the ones that had it, you had still, like, pixels popping up, man.
That's internet problems. That's not HBO. That's your internet.
It was on Amazon. Amazon is far better at streaming than HBO has ever been. And even Amazon had issues because there's just darkness. And it's like,
I
don't know what I'm supposed to, like, show you right now. I apologize. I'm trying. But, like, it's just dark. And I mean, I like Battle of Winterhelm, I wasn't a huge fan of because it does the things wrong. It's because in the slugfest that is, there are no consequences.
That one, yeah, that's the worst part of that one.
At least, and even
if there were
Godzilla
consequences,
movies,
it would have been awesome. But
yes, and even the Godzilla movies, there are consequences to what's happened. Like San Francisco is overgrown now. stuff like that. Like the past has impacted the world as we know it. So like there are consequences to the actions that have happened, even if it's the next movie. But like the destruction stuff, like there are consequences. There's death. There is real things that happen to the characters in these movies, right? If we just get a 2-hour slugfest between Kong and Godzilla, we take out the human element. What's like, we're not going to get the lore, because it's just gonna it's. I'm trying to think of a movie that I could compare it to, but it's just not comparable, if that makes sense. Because for me, I guess
for me, the movie, like the only movie that I can compare this to, that, like, if I were to, like, in a good, like, the way I'm thinking about your argument, if I really want to boil it down in an incorrect way, I'm thinking of The Mummy, the newest version of The Mummy, because that movie is pretty much just all lore dumps and all that stuff set for the other franchises of the world, and then eventually deals with the Mummy itself. And I know that's not what's happening in this film, but it also feels like if we excuse the fact that there isn't these character moments that can give us better moments for the humans as well, because we're supposed to care about these humans as well as the monsters that are on the screen, then I feel like a lot of the movies that we're going to get are going to deteriorate towards the Mummy.
My counter argument to you on that comparison. I know it's not the best comparison. Agree.
It's like I said, it's not the best, and it's not intentionally the right way to say it. It's just a comparison that I can think of.
Is that The Mummy is just a bad movie.
Yeah.
And I get what you're trying to say with that, but like, I guess because there's a difference of lore building to set up things in a good way and a bad way, if that makes sense. Like with Kong Skull Island, okay? We built up the lore as we were going.
Yeah.
Okay. Start out with them just trying to use charges to map the island is what we're told Monarch is there for. And they're like, no, we're actually here for this. We're here for the Hollow Earth theory. And they, do their thing with that. And at the end, and like, they build up like Kong's lore that he's the defender of this, he's the last of his race, all that kind of stuff. And at the end, we get the image of Kong versus Godzilla, like hieroglyph. That, in my opinion, while the rest of that movie is happening, those are little nuggets to the future. While also, like, the rest of the movie builds up the lore of Skull Island, of Kong, the Skull Crusher, stuff like that, for the human element. And I think the humans in Kong Skull Island are probably the best humans this universe has done. Because they got great. They got a great cast with Brie Larson, with Tom Hiddleston, John C. Reilly. You got Samuel L. Jackson, and a ton of other great actors in that movie. John Goodman. Like that cast is like, you got a lot of great character actors, and you got like a lot of good actors in that movie. So like they're able to, despite that movie being filled with fucking characters that don't necessarily need to be there. There's not a character in that movie that I'm like, I just dislike you. And I guess for me, the universe of the Monsterverse they don't have characters that I'm just like, I just don't like you. Unless I'm supposed to not like you. If that makes sense. And if we get more time with them, I feel like I'm going to start disliking them.
But the problem is I kind of dislike them because I haven't had enough time with them. Because all of their decisions barely make sense or are way too convenient for what happens. And I think we're kind of beating a dead horse at this point.
Yeah, probably.
But like, because there a lot of the stuff I can't really get into a lot of why I'm upset about it, because a lot of it is like literally going step by step, moment in the movie. And like, sure, like I said, the best part the 100% the reason why you're here to watch this movie is to watch the monster fights, and they are great. They look cool. The cinematography is awesome, especially because I love that they did. They tried to keep it more grounded and real, where everything is like you're looking up towards the monsters. But they have their limits because sometimes they have shots where you're getting to see through the monster's eyes, or you get to see like some helicopter panning things. So you get to see things that all look realistic, and it keeps you within the world. And it's really cool. I especially like the Hong Kong fight because of all the super awesome colors. And
Oh yeah.
some might argue that the Hong Kong fight is using darkness, but I don't think they are because of all the neon. So you're getting this like weird mixture of
it's not in darkness to hide things. It's in darkness to show things off, I guess.
yeah,
Does it make sense?
They're edging more towards a pop noir style.
Yeah.
But it's not black and white, but it's cyberpunky almost is the best way.
Yeah, it's cyberpunk.
Yeah. And
with its coloration.
Yeah, and it was really cool to see it. I loved watching all that stuff happening. So there's that. I cannot argue about how good this movie looked. That is not one thing I can argue about because it looked amazing. And I will watch it again. I guarantee you. I will watch it again. It's that cool. It's just like I said, the other stuff. So
I feel like I've been watching a little bit as well before we got here because I haven't watched. It kind of funny was doing their MonsterVerse in review. I haven't watched their Godzilla versus Kong because usually I avoid watching a review of something that I'm going to review soon. And this was one of those movies that I'm like I'm not going to watch this until I review it, kind of thing. For me, like Tim Geddes put it best when they did their King of Monsters. I think the people, and I agree with him fully. He said, I think the people who come into these movies wanting more human or like wanting a better human element are just not going to enjoy kaiju movies. That just like kaiju movies are not really made for people who want more of that element, if that makes sense. Because like, I agree with him that like arguably the best up until now, I would say the best kaiju movie we've had out of like with these kind of movies would have been King of Monsters because it gives me everything I want out of a kaiju movie. Gives me world building, gives me awesome goddamn monster fights and awesome goddamn hero pose moments, like when Godzilla comes out of the water just breathing his atomic breath. And it just gives me like that movie you could pause at so many moments and just be in awe at the scope of things. And I think personally, Godzilla versus Kong ups the ante on that. There are tons more moments that I could pause and stare at and be like, I love this. There's less of the human problem that we had with Godzilla King of the Monsters. Because I mean, like, let's be real, we got more time with humans in that one. And more development time with humans. Not just like for lore reasons, but we got development time.
Yeah.
Would you have wanted more of that again? Like what we got in that one?
It's just like you're saying that people who don't like human development probably won't like kaiju movies.
Well, I'm saying they don't like the development we've had.
Yeah, but the very first kaiju movie that ever came out was a Godzilla movie that came out in 1954.
Oh, I'm not. Yeah,
and that was about dealing with Godzilla through the human perspective.
Yes. That's the only one, Steven.
And Shin Godzilla, which came out in 2014, is also about Godzilla, but from the human perspective. And that was a great movie.
Okay, But if you can do that if you're just focusing on Godzilla. King of Monsters, GVK, we don't just got Godzilla. We got other things that need to have time to grow. And like with King of Monsters, like we got time with the humans. we got a lot of time with the humans, honestly, in that movie,
Mhm.
because we were developing a whole family, storyline in that.
Which is utterly pointless in this movie, sadly.
I wouldn't say sadly. I'm okay with it being pointless because I didn't care about it in the King of Monsters.
But if they can, like, that's part of the problem too, because they had character development from the King of the Monsters, but they just threw it away for a different group of people. And I understand that they probably thought, like, executives probably thought, hey, a different dynamic of characters will probably make the audience happier.
Well, no, I don't think it's that. It's more that, like, why would any of the returning characters, except for the dad, have anything to do with the arc? The only character who would have made sense to go with the Kong group was the dad.
Mhm.
Why in a million years would Millie Bobby Brown be going on the Kong trip?
Because she going on the Kong trip doesn't make sense, but it would make sense for me for the dad to go on the Kong trip because he's trying to work with Apex, not because he's trying to save Apex and trying to save humanity, but because he's trying to find a way to calm down Godzilla. And because in this movie, it's his whole dialogue is, I don't know what Godzilla's problem is because monsters like people change. So that tells me that off screen, in between however many years have passed, that Millie Bobby Brown's character and her dad have gotten in a fight because one of them is growing up, and the character and people change.
What?
That was my assumption. Yeah, that's not what I got. That's where I tried to get. I was like, there has to be a reason behind these lines, and that's where I inevitably got because I was like, why would they write this? Because there has to be some kind of drama.
I would have. What I drew. Now that you brought it up, you want to know where I draw immediately to? He's talking about his ex-wife,
who's dead. I mean,
yeah.
Was she dead after the first movie?
Yes, she is very dead.
So
she was in one of the wave blasts that Godzilla had going on. She dead. Dead.
The older dead. So yeah, like I was leaning towards like they had an argument, and that's why they're not on the same eye for what's going on with Godzilla. And then from that standpoint, him going to help with the Kong story and her going to do the Titan podcast part, which bugs me a little bit. Still, but it would still make more sense because now we have two people who are connected doing different stories for the same storyline, and then one of them directly interact. Like, even though this one was the one who was ignored, her direct contribution actually is the only reason why his storyline is successful. So if he had just listened to her in the beginning, something could have been different. But this still the movie happened, like that's better character development there. That's a better character story to me.
I'm not going to argue on that one. I guess for me, from experiences with these kind of movies, like where we end up with a lot of human stuff, we end up with like Godzilla 99.
Mm-hmm. I got
that's a lot of fish.
When I don't know what there was a lot of fish in this movie too, actually. But I'm thinking of one scene particularly, but yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, we end up with that. Like,
I don't know.
We end up with dumb shit like that to fill time, I guess.
Your numbers thing immediately made me think of H2O for some reason. Halloween 20 years later. Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
So yeah, I see your standpoint, and I do disagree with you slightly, but I don't at the same time because this movie does pay off in its monster fights. It's just but me beating the dead horse here. Like I said, I just want more to connect me between the monster fights because I have seen people online argue that they could fast forward through every moment of Godzilla King of the Monsters that's not a monster fight and still understand the story that's happening. But I'd have to try it. I haven't done it myself, but people have tried it and said that they can do it and it makes sense to them. That being said, they've also seen the movie already.
They've already seen it.
So
you got to test it with someone who's never seen King of the Monsters. It's got to be a 2-part thing. You make them watch it with essentially you edit a version of it where it's just those.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Just monster moments. So I would classify that as a monster has to be either coming, in the scene, or leaving.
I could probably I would probably also, only because I like connective tissue, like I said, would maybe be like, oh, Ghidorah's coming, and then show a radar of it flying through the air, and then switch to the Ghidorah scene, and then that'd be it. But it's
No, you
really,
don't get to do that
yeah.
because it has to be like I'd have to say like if it's that, then the storm has to be there because Ghidorah was the storm. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
I hear you.
Like
Storm.
it was great. God, it
Like
was so cool.
if I had to compare between Ghidorah Storm and Monster Hunter Storm, Ghidorah Storm 100%. However, the weird thing,
Okay, you know what? That's a great point. Monster Hunter. We got nothing but human time.
I see what you did there. That's also kind of why I threw up the picture as the opening screen, because one's about the monsters and the other one's about the people. The difference is, I'm talking about someone with competent writing skills writing this, and Monster Hunter was not well written in any aspect.
Touche. Well, I guess the other thing too for me about it is like, I mean, we haven't reviewed Pacific Rim yet, and I don't know if I really haven't watched them before. I've been saving it for when we get to it eventually.
You haven't watched it all yet?
No, it's one that I didn't get to go to theaters for.
Damn, why didn't you tell me that? I would have thrown that in here. Wait, I would have made this Giant Things month. I would have figured out something.
That would have been cool. But no, like for me, like, and from what I understand with those, like they do more with the human, but I get that's more of a human story.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like I guess if I'm going to a Godzilla movie, I'm more here for the kaiju story, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm not here. I don't want the movie to feel like it has to do human stuff, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it feels natural for the movie, because like one thing I will point back to Skull Island is on Skull Island, we weren't forced with Tom Hiddleston and Bree's character like falling in love. They kind of flirted, but they weren't like embracing each other and shit. You know what I mean? There wasn't the cliche shit happening.
Mm-hmm. It's not the Meg,
Yeah,
which would be funny if that was in this universe, but
dude.
Jason Statham.
It wouldn't even be a fair
punches
fight.
King
Jason
Kong.
Statham would Jason Statham starts climbing up Godzilla.
Exactly. That's what I'm picturing now. Like, I'm gonna get me a dorsal fin.
Knife into the side of Godzilla's head, going underwater. Oh god, I'm going into the
Hollow Earth.
Earth. I lived through the gravity field without the ship.
Better than David Lynch. All right, I think we've talked about non-spoilery stuff enough.
All right.
Unless there's anything else non-spoilery that you want to talk about.
No, we're good. I'm gonna give you your popcorns, but I'm gonna guess 6.5.
I was actually gonna give it a 7.
Oh, I lowballed you.
Yeah, like I said, the monster parts are really cool. The part of the film that you come to see is really cool.
I was gonna give it an 8, so you know it doesn't change the score that I had originally put. So
Yeah.
um,
Still 7.5.
still 7.5.
Still pretty good.
It's a good 7.5 though.
Yeah.
It is a fun 7.5.
100%.
My God.
Oh, but now I want you to watch Pacific Rim.
Let's get ready to
We will at
spoil!
some point.
Yeah. All right. So, anyone who doesn't want Godzilla versus King Kong, spoilers, leave now or forever hold thy. So there's an axe, which I already spoiled at one point without thinking about it.
I mean, it's in the trailers.
Yeah, there's a lot that's spoiled, like Godzilla, Mecha Godzilla. I mean,
Mechagodzilla isn't spoiled.
but it's in the trailer.
He's teased in the trailer.
Yeah.
It's just it's such a frame that when I first saw it, I'm like, was that?
Yeah, he's.
No.
It's literally.
And then someone like I saw on Twitter someone go like freeze it and being like guys, is this Mecha? And I'm like, so I wasn't seeing shit?
No, it's
Please tell me
literally.
this is gonna happen.
And the
You
problem
wanna know what
with-
happened to me?
Mhm.
I was on Funko
Mhm.
app because I go on there to see if there's any new ones coming out that I might like add to my wish
and
list.
you saw Mecha Godzilla
I
Funko.
saw Mecha Godzilla pop up. I'm like, I'm both. I'm a little disappointed I went on the app today, but at the same time, it makes me more hyped for this movie.
Nice.
Because we get Mecha Godzilla.
Yeah, like I was sitting there watching the movie, and I remember when we talked about Godzilla King of the Monsters, and I was like, you know what? It's gonna be Justice League, or Batman v Superman. Sorry, where Godzilla fights Kong, and then they gotta fight Mecha Ghidorah is the one that I said. But it was actually Mecha Godzilla, which makes sense because they can't just jump straight into one of the later bigger bads. They need to.
Oh yeah.
They need to build
Well,
up slowly.
okay. So my reasoning why I like what Mecha Godzilla being what he is and understanding it, being the learning about what the villain's plan are with it, because we get the scenes where it's shown that it's a connection thing, right? Which is heavily influenced by the original Godzilla stuff. When Mecha shows up, because he's like piloted by a person who they both connect, and it's originally fun fact, it's a dead Godzilla that gets used for it in the actual Godzilla series. While in this one they use bits of Ghidorah. And I believe that this isn't the skull we see at the end of.
Yeah, that's
King
the
of
only way that
Monsters.
would make sense. Because the way that Bernie describes it, which how he knows this, I don't know. But he knows that Ghidorah can communicate via telekinetic properties, which I guess he knows that because he's an Apex employee and he knows he downloaded the files. But the only way it makes sense is if they had two heads.
Well, no. Hear me out.
Okay.
There was still a lot of flesh left off that body. So my thought process is this, okay? You get like that head that was left after the fight, right? The main fight. You get that, okay? Use the skull. You genetically, obviously, there's plenty of goddamn Ghidorah tissue in that fight.
Yeah, which I mean, sorry. I'm gonna cut you off for a second again before you go off, because speaking of I'm going off of my hypothesis really fast, because the way I was thinking about it was Ghidorah. It was mentioned that he's telekinetically connected, and that's how all the heads can communicate with each other. And the Ghidorah head that we see is literally a skull, but Bernie's like, it's living, computing, it's still alive somehow. Which doesn't make sense because it's literally just a skull, but I guess the brain in the skull is still alive, even though we see the human in the brain chamber, but whatever. But then it makes me think that there has to be another brain inside the Kong somewhere, or Kong, inside the Mecha Godzilla. Because if they telekinetically communicate, they have to communicate via that way. But if it's like just flesh that they're using to make it work, that doesn't quite work enough for me.
You didn't let me finish.
Sure.
You get that flesh and you start cloning things with it, okay? You start growing like parts of Ghidorah that you would need, okay? So, obviously, you probably need a brain for the mech. So, essentially, what I'm saying is you grow the parts that you need in the mech for it to work. While also using the skull and connecting, probably, because, it probably seems like it's trying to grow back occasionally here and there. Probably, cutting off some of that, but not cutting off all of it so that you could still use it as, like, a gaming chair. Because I guess for me, the reason why I'm perfectly cool with that is because then when we get to if we get another movie and Mecha Godzilla shows up again, we can get the good guy version. If that makes sense. Because like in the series,
The one where he's no longer connected to the evil mecha, the evil Ghidorah head.
Well, I'm saying it's another company that builds it and it's a good mecha.
It's not Apex, who wants to be the apex of all humanity, of all creatures.
Yeah.
Which is
Dude, anytime I hear Apex, because my airsoft group that I was part of was Apex Airsoft, and we were, we had a shark on our logo. Yeah, it was real cool. We were so cool. Anytime I hear that, I'm like, you guys weren't the real Apex. We were. But no, like I look at it like that. I look at it as a way for us to potentially get Mecha back to be on the good guy side, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because we also still need another head that that Mr. Lannister got, that Tyrion Lannister got, so that we can get Mecha Ghidorah. Because Mecha Ghidorah is usually one one Ghidorah head with 2 mecha heads.
Okay. I mean, I'm interested. I'd love to see
So,
it.
like, yeah, exactly. It would make sense that he takes that head and makes Mecha Ghidorah with it. For all we know, with that head, you just clone another head.
But this is all assuming that they have a proper power source. Which, can we talk about the power source for a second? And how movies got a movie with it?
I don't care.
Yeah.
This movie got a movie, man. Come on.
Dude, it's literally... Thank goodness we have super technology that can mimic this radiation from the hollow earth in the center of the universe. Or else we'd be SOL and we'd never get...
Even this the universe that... And the other Godzilla universe also has these with O2 bombs.
Hey, they're burning oxygen, man. I mean,
in the water, Steven.
There's water. There's oxygen in the water. That's how water is made. It's 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen.
But then you would lose a lot of water, Steven.
Oh, yeah. Because it's really hot in an explosion. Duh. Sorry, I could just see the blood vessel bursting.
Okay, buddy. Also, this is a universe where somehow Quicksilver got a boat to go out 20 miles while going like 20 miles from San Francisco in 5 minutes.
This is also a world where Dr. Lind, who like lives in his basement, can apparently pilot a machine he's never seen, surge it to be able to overcharge a heart, and be able to book it off the middle of a giant monster's chest, down its side, and a couple blocks away so he doesn't die when the ship explodes. So, there's that.
Steven, you just gotta let the movie movie.
This is also a universe where the storm blocks Skull Island from existing, but also exists in the middle of the world to stop you from getting into the Hollow Earth. But when you try to exit the Hollow Earth, it doesn't matter.
Well, no, that's not a storm. That's the
It's the veil.
No, it's what it is a magnetic, like, I guess a gravitational flip is kind of what it is.
The gravitational flip is when they immediately fell, though, and they were crushed, or when his brother was crushed when he entered.
No, that was when they go through the veil, like that veil thing. That was when the gravity flipped.
I mean, we can't really be specific because gravity flips a lot in this movie.
Yeah, but I'm more saying, okay, yes, but I'm saying like that, or the entrance flip, I guess, because like you're going an X amount of speed. So when you go through like that point where the gravity flips, that's what crushed his brother.
Yes.
And they made a ship strong enough to go through it, but the problem is it launches because of gravity and your momentum, you launch into the air. And like it still bugged out the ship.
The way I saw it was the gravity switch was when Kong fell. And that's the point when David's brother died. Once they entered the veil, that, like the weird psychedelic scene, that was them entering into the Hollow Earth, which was being protected the same way Kong Skull Island was being protected.
It's both. It's kind of both, Steven. That's the gravity point where it flips, while also being the veil that kind of you fall through, like you have to get through to get to the Hollow Earth. Because the reason why they fall back down from there is because, like, again, it was momentum. They fell.
Yeah, the gravity was pulling them down again. I understand, like, once they hit one spot, they had to fall back because the gravity, the inside, the where it pushing you down is the floor. So, like, I understood that. So once they got in, they had to fall and stabilize again. Like, I got how the gravity works. It's just that movie got a movie, and it's all stuff that doesn't make sense. I mean, literally, we're talking about a lizard that's spewing atomic breath. So
no, I'm not arguing that. I'm saying that I guess I'm just trying to say that, like, where you thought the flip was when they're in the Hollow Earth, right? You thought that was when
No,
gravity
it
flip
was
was.
right when they enter in the Antarctic cell. When he's like
Oh, no.
swinging through the banisters, he suddenly falls because gravity pulls suddenly, and that's when the flip was. And
No.
that's why they plummet, because the gravity is pulling them inwards.
Kong just fucking slipped. He fucking biffed it because he's not used to fucking rocks like that. He's used to like, he just biffed it, like straight up. That was just him biffing it.
That doesn't make sense to me, but okay.
He biffed it, and then like their ships just because
they also plummeted immediately once they reached that
him
threshold. So
They followed him down.
did they follow him? Because I felt like alarms were going off at that point.
Well, yeah, because you followed him down, but you're essentially plummeting. You're falling into an endless hole.
See, this is the problem that we have, because now we're arguing semantics, which this movie doesn't give us enough details to be able to argue these
No,
semantics.
give plenty of details to explain.
I don't think it does, because
I perfectly understood what was happening, Stephen.
And I feel like I did too, but they were at different moments.
Yeah, because essentially, like
The only part that I didn't understand was that weird psychedelic trip part.
That was the flip.
I'll say yes for now. Just so we can move on.
Oh yeah, because if you watch the movie, like Kong like goes to grab and he just slips. Like that's all it was. He just fucking slipped, dude. Like he straight
Yeah, which makes no sense to me. Like, if that's what happens, then that's just more writer's convenience, and that's dumb.
Well, he was gonna go down the hole anyways.
Yes, so he should have just gone down the hole instead of slipping.
He's not used to wet rocks.
Because, yeah, like, he's not used to ice, sure. But that should also mean that, like, the structure that's holding him as he's swinging shouldn't be used to him. But apparently it can handle him just fine. Like, that's what...
those are, that's rocks. Like...
There's frozen rock and then metal scaffolding holding it all together. And there's a bunch of ice columns for some reason in this giant, vast chamber. So
it's like under a glacier.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happens.
So yeah.
Mecha was cool though.
Mecha was cool. Though I think it's kind of weird that the part that Ghidorah, I guess the only part that Ghidorah was in was his eye. Or whatever was being controlled. Was the left eye or something. Because that's the part that when that was activated, got Godzilla to attack Apex.
What? No.
That big round ball in the Florida attack for Apex in the very beginning of the movie. Wasn't that Ghidorah's eye? Or Mecha Godzilla's eye?
Oh, it was Mecha Godzilla's eye, yes.
Yes. So the part that Ghidorah's brain connecting to, is it in just the eye? Or is it in...
No, I would guess... Well, okay, you want to know what I think that was?
Sure. Is why I'm asking, so yes.
They're running a test of the psychic link, okay? Mm-hmm. And so where the skull actually is deep underground.
In
right?
Hong Kong, right? Not in Florida?
Yes. Not in Florida. Okay. But the psychic link, essentially Godzilla's going to feel it on the surface level, not underground, I guess, because they're kind of more of in a bunker where that thing is.
Except he could feel the energy in the Hollow Earth?
Well... Yeah, okay, movie. Shut up.
See, this is the problem. Like, there's too much convenience for the movie.
Yeah, and also I like Fast and Furious. There's too much convenience in that, but you know what? They fucking work. Steven, how much do you watch Aquaman?
Probably at least once a month.
How much convenience is in that movie, Steven?
There's a lot.
Do you bitch about it every time?
Actually, kind of do.
Wow, you are the fucking worst. Why? Why are you like this? How do you enjoy things?
Like, I'll sit there and talk about movies that I've seen 100 times and be like, I don't like this part coming up. What do you think, Dad? And he's like, you've said that before. But I want to talk. I'm sorry. I'd Mystery Science Theater a lot of movies.
You're the worst.
Kind of am.
God damn you.
At the movie theater, like, it's Like, the reason I think why I didn't see some of the, like, a lot of the details that we argue about is because I'll see a movie only once and I'll try to write down as much as I can because I can't talk it out to remember it. So I'm sitting there writing notes nonstop. I'm like, all right. And I'll miss something every once in a while. Like,
I still don't know how you missed the fucking spots on the goddamn dragons.
like Justice League, for instance. My first watching of the Justice League movie, of the Zack Snyder Justice League movie, I was taking notes and I completely missed the Martian Manhunter first moment. And I was like, wait, when did he show up? Oh, that's when he showed up, when I was looking down at my paper because I thought the scene was over.
Nope. No, I mean, I guess it's just the way that we approach movies, though, because I'm more going to a movie. I aim to watch a movie to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. I'm enjoying the movies. I'm just enjoying them for different reasons.
And what you take away from them is never just to enjoy the movie. You've got to, like, pick apart and try to, like, your brain
You gotta
immediately
understand the movie.
Well, it's not just that. You're like, I want to make it better. But, like, I'm over here like, but movie doesn't need to be better. Movie is good itself. Movie is still good unless you're Monster Hunter or Death Note. You get the fuck out of here. I can't even excuse you. I can excuse Dragon Ball Evolution more than I can excuse you two.
Mm-hmm.
Get the fuck out of here. But like, I'm just over here just enjoying the movie, I guess. It's just how we approach movies.
Yeah, like I'm still enjoying this movie. I still enjoyed watching it, but like I still like I said in the discussion part where I was like, how the hell were they able to sedate Kong to get him on the boats in the first place? Being that he's this giant ape that's running around this big facility. Obviously they had to gas out the entire facility to knock him out, and then once he was gassed out, they put the harness on him. But then once he was harnessed, how did they get him out of the facility onto the boats? Oh, well, whatever. Once they were on the boats and the Godzilla attack happened, they had all of their boats were destroyed, but they still had enough helicopters with them to be able to get him in a net and into the Arctic. Where did the net come from? How were they able to move Godzilla onto the net? Was King Kong. And was King Kong sedated again? Because he wakes up when the net breaks.
I think he was just resting after getting his fucking ass.
I was leaning towards that one, but still, like.
Also, like, have you heard of a radio? Be like, hey, can we get some Harriers with a giant net?
But they have no way to get him back afterwards, so clearly they didn't have to call in the helicopters because they wouldn't have made it if they couldn't make it back. I don't know. That's just the assumption I made there.
I'm saying, like, once they get, like, wherever they kind of float to, let's say that, like, within Harrier distance, another aircraft carrier goes there. Okay.
Yeah.
Outside of like,
do you think
outside of Kong radius,
attacked those ones? Those
probably not, because it
ships?
wasn't like he was coming to kick Kong's ass.
Mm-hmm.
If the other aircraft carrier just hangs out far enough away, Godzilla's not gonna give a shit about it. Because normally he doesn't give a shit about it. So Harriers fly over within a distance that they will make it from there to where they need to go, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So you do that, drop Kong off. Also, getting him out of the facility after you gassed him, like you said, is cranes exist.
You're not wrong. But did you see any cranes on their island facility
Do we
in the middle of
need to see this? Do you need to see every stupid little thing?
I don't
This
need
is what
this.
I'm talking
like,
about.
I don't need to see them actually putting Godzilla on a crane, but I want to see that there's maybe a crane on the island in the sweeping shot as they're pulling away. Like, I want to see that they thought this stuff through.
I could just. This was a plan that they kind of made on the fly. I could just assume being like, hey, Monarch, we just need or Apex, let's just bring some cranes in. I can assume that, like, hey, someone just brought some cranes.
I hear it. I hear you. Like, there are assumptions you can make, yes. It's just, that's the problem. Like, I don't want to make assumptions in the movie. Like,
this is why the Snyder Cut exists. You are why the Snyder Cut exists.
yes, and
it's
he's
your fault.
And he's complaining that he didn't even get to still tell all of his story.
I know.
Oh God,
This is your fault. Things like this exist because of you. Because you're like, I need more.
I mean, hey,
And then we get that.
I wish there was security around the Apex facilities. That would be better too. But you know, movie's got a movie.
You don't expect someone to break in there.
I mean,
You don't expect someone to walk into the skull collar bus. Right?
apparently not. I hear you. I agree with you. I like you as a person who like works in that facility. Who's like, yeah, no one would get in that skull crawler thing. That's stupid. Let's just close it up. It'll be fine. Like, I hear you. But at the same time, I'm just kidding. It's the one entrance into their sub basement that we know of that goes all the way to the surface. And it's like, huh, maybe we should cover that entrance. But that's just me.
Well, there were other doors in that they've walked by. They just happened to like hear someone, so they darted in there, and then they darted into the other one, and it locked on them.
I'm not even mad that they got into the tanker. I'm mad that they got into the elevator. I'm mad that they got into the rubble because I feel like there should have been police or something guarding the rubble that no one could get in and hurt themselves.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. I'm not getting at there should be someone
you were talking
watching
about
the
like
container.
once they get into the lair.
No, once they're in the lair, they should have passed out from the bullet train's extreme acceleration, but they were fine.
Do you not think like light rail exists?
No, it does. But I'm pretty sure this is not a light rail because it's going from Florida to Tokyo. And I don't know how Hong Kong, sorry. And I don't know how many hours.
Yeah, we don't need to. It's going 600 miles an hour.
Really quickly, G-forces would make those people fall asleep.
Well, okay, I'm gonna point out that like they obviously have set it up so that it can happen.
Yes.
So,
but there's super technology. There's future technology.
The fact that there was a tunnel from Florida to Hong Kong, okay? I'm just gonna assume they probably set it up that people could live through it. They have, Steven, this group has the technology to survive a point in gravity that everything
all of Earth's gravity at once, crushing
flips. Yes. They have a machine that flies through that and survives.
Multiple machines.
I can assume that they have the technology to be able to keep a person at 600 miles per hour inside of a vehicle and move. Because guess what? Planes exist.
Yeah, but most of the stuff with the super fast acceleration, it's cargo. And this was meant for cargo, so it's not meant for people.
I'm guessing they use the same kind of vehicle to send people to.
See,
because it uses the gravity thing.
And the guessing part is the problem.
I saw it! I can infer from the information I saw that it uses the same gravity shit that the ship that goes into the fucking Hollow Earth uses the same fucking lift gravity thing to go through the tunnels. So I can assume from that obviously someone can probably live through it. Also, I've lived through plane travel.
You're not
Which
wrong.
goes hundreds of miles. And I don't feel that shit.
But it accelerates slow. I'm just kidding. Yes. That was the look I was going for. Thank you.
God, I fucking hate you.
Okay, everybody who came here for a dev rant, you just got one.
You got me on a fucking gravity thing. Like, what the fuck?
Let's see.
All right, let's move on. I don't think there's any more spoilery stuff I want to talk about, at least. I don't know what you got.
Trying to think. I don't like one thing that I thought was funny, they literally made his whiskey, which was in a gun holster, Chekhov's gun.
That, I mean, just again, it's one of those things that like people just had to be in the right place at the right time, and then they had the right thing to do the right thing.
Yeah.
I did argue with someone about that, like, so when that happens, the whole moment where like Mecha freezes for a moment, like he was like, well, you know, then how does like if that's all it took, like obviously, you know, like Why'd that affect Mecha? Because obviously he already uploaded, like Ghidorah already uploaded into it. Like, I'm like, yeah, he kind of did, but he was still like communicating, I
Yeah, he was
guess, with it.
streaming, live streaming.
Yeah. And like there was still some subconscious in Mecha, but like it would be more like it would be an echo
Yeah, at this
or a
point, it feels
split.
to me it'd be more dangerous. Like now, there's like, sure, the Ghidorah that we had was one, but now it's split into two. It's a Horcrux of itself.
Yeah. It's similar like the AIs in Red versus Blue. It's a split off of a like it's a split off of itself, essentially. It's an AI. It's essentially an AI. It is an artificial intelligence that has taken over the mecha. At that point, which is terrifying now that I think about it. That was an AI.
Yeah, they
What the
digitized
fuck?
Ghidorah's thoughts and memories into a computer AI. Terrifying. They have cracked the
Man.
code of immortality.
With a monster.
Two last things I want to talk about. One of the movie related. The music itself in this movie. When it came to the orchestral, like fighty or like background behind the scenes music, I thought that was perfect, spot on stuff. But when it came to the more like lyrical storytelling music, which there were two moments of it, I felt it was too on the nose and too specific. Like one moment I'm thinking of is at the very beginning of the film where King Kong going through his morning routine and the music's like, there's a girl in the forest who waits for me in the morning and she's pretty neat. And then it like pans to the girl who's making her King Kong doll. And it's like, and then there's
Steven, I don't want to disappoint. I'm gonna disappoint you right now. I'm like, I don't expect much from a kaiju movie. You heard the music in the trailer, right?
yes.
That's pretty fucking on the nose.
Not
But man,
wrong.
he's in a fucking bop.
Oh, I actually just found one more thing I found on here. There's the fight scene. So I did technically two things. There's the fight scene with the three of them happening. And there's the pep talk that happens with the girl and King Kong. And that felt really cut up and edited to me because it definitely wasn't the pep talk. It was, hey, Godzilla isn't the monster. Don't hurt yourself, please. It wasn't, Godzilla isn't the bad guy. He is our friend. You need to get the other bad guy, but please take care of you. Like, I feel like that's what they were trying to do, but it was like, Godzilla isn't the enemy. Take care of yourself, please. Like, I felt like they should have been more pleading and being like, save Godzilla, please. But
Nah, I mean, in that fight, Kong didn't really care that Godzilla was there. He was like, "This mecha shit's like, this is inferring on my territory. Like,
Mhm.
I should be closer to him." I kind of get what you're saying, but at the same time, I'm like, again, my brain is just like mushy because of like I'm going smooth brain with it because I mean I'm getting to see Godzilla, King Kong, and Mecha Godzilla in a fucking brawl.
Yeah.
All right.
And the other part that I forgot to mention about was the radiation axe. Like, I understand that the axe draws in and absorbs radiation, but it felt weird that like in the one fight of round 2 that the beam follows the arc of his axe rather than just going straight for King Kong. Because in other moments of the fight, he has to like put his axe up as a shield to absorb the radiation because it's coming right at him.
Steven, it's the same thing when Batman does it in Snyder Cut and like throws it up and
Mhm.
Clark's eyes follow it for some reason.
Yeah. And then
Like,
I think that's actually it though for me.
cool.
Yeah, watch this movie. Yes,
Yeah.
you can press the button.
Wait, hold on, it's be Go Godzilla.
Go, go, Godzilla. So, news, there isn't much, honestly. Um, bit of news is I actually watched the trailers that were released not that long ago, maybe today, maybe yesterday, maybe the day before, for Black Widow and Loki. And I gotta say, Black Widow, I am now a lot more interested in. Loki, I am a lot less interested in. Because I liked the idea before. My idea that I had in my head was Loki going on his evil adventures. And now he's a time cop?
Steven, did you not watch the first teaser?
No.
That was that like they had the time variant police thing
Mm.
like teased in that,
I didn't know that.
which is
So,
a
like,
thing from the comics.
yeah, I didn't, like, to me, like, sure, that's cool. But my ultimate problem with time variant problems is, to me, the company that controls time is the problem. That's almost always the problem in the end. It's like, oh, if we just let things go and let them go their own ways, this catastrophic event would have happened, yes, but now the timelines wouldn't be crumbling and collapsing between all three worlds.
Well,
Whatever.
no, it's more that for them they police their timeline, if that makes sense. So like if you cause fractions in that, you can tear the fabric of your universe apart.
Mm-hmm.
Because your universe is now pulling itself apart. And they have to be able to fix that. It's like when like
But I thought the whole point was like each. Didn't they explain in the Avenger in Infinity War, Endgame?
Yeah.
Sorry, that each universe is a new dimension.
No,
Or
it's a
each
different timeline.
Yeah, each timeline is a new dimension or something.
Not entirely. When the Sorcerer Supreme is explaining that, she says like you pull this out of here and suddenly
The fractured
this is the
timeline.
branch.
Yeah, the branch
Yes.
timeline.
And so you do it multiple times, you create multiple branches. And obviously Loki's not the only one messing with time.
But like, if it's now a different branch, how are you changing time that shouldn't be changed? Because now it's a new branch in time. So,
but it's still essentially, look at it like this: the longer that timeline exists, it pulls on the fabric of the original timeline.
mm-hmm. I
And
guess
that we can fit
yeah.
there. If you get multiple pulls, let's say, multiple points on that timeline that start pulling at the timeline, eventually, you get enough of those, that main timeline is going to break.
But I feel like part of the problem is like, how do you get multiple pulls in the timeline except by messing with time and traveling through time itself?
Because that's why there's a police force for it, to stop people from doing that.
But the police force themselves are the ones who are doing it too.
But they're doing it in a proactive way, if that makes sense. I guess a reactively proactive way, like probably going.
Next, you won't want to defund the space time police. God damn it!
If there was any police that I wouldn't want to defund, it would probably be the space time police, because they probably have an understanding as to why we shouldn't be doing any space stuff, like space time shit. Okay, like I guess how I would put it is that, like, because there's hints and talk that Kang the Conqueror is coming.
Mm-hmm.
He's a time traveling conqueror. He's part of, like, to the point that he time travels so much there are so many splits of himself that in the comics there is a council of Kangs. I think it's King the Conqueror, right? I think that's his name. Hold on, let me look up. Let me make sure I get the name right.
That sounds right though. Like, I can picture a character who's
so
old and has traveled so often that he exists in every point of time multiple times.
I believe he's supposed to show up. Yeah, because he's he's an alter ego of Nathaniel Richards, who I think is the son or like a distant son of one of the Summers kids and what's his name? Not Reed and Sue's son. their son, like is a descendant of them. I believe he's rumored to be showing up in like the movies.
Mhm.
Yeah, in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Okay.
So I can see this because Quantumania, time travel. This is essentially this show. I like the shows because like they also, I'm liking what the Marvel Studios are doing with Disney Plus shows, because on top of like developing these characters that were, and some of them underdeveloped, introducing new characters and also doing creative things with it, we are also getting set up for other stuff in the universe. Okay.
For me, the one thing I would want to see, I guess, in this Loki is I'd want to see this Loki observing Chris Evans' Cap putting objects back in the right spot. That way we could see, like, we don't need it at all, but I think it'd be a fun little Easter egg where he's like, maybe like he's walking down the hallway and you could see him giving the ancient one the time crystal.
See, I could agree with you there. I don't know if they'll do that because I know Chris has said that he probably won't come back to the role.
It just needs to be America's ass and it'll be fine.
Just do what they did with Superman.
Yeah, just his back and just replace the head. Yes. That reminds me, actually, there is a bit of news. I don't have a headline for it, but have you heard that the actor who is playing Captain America is receiving death threats?
Yeah, that's some stupid shit.
That really is. Like,
he's playing U.S. Agent, Captain America.
Yeah,
that's some stupid shit. Like, I get it that, like, again, Chris Evans is like
perfect.
He's a perfect Cap. But I can't remember the actor's name who's playing him, is doing a fantastic job as U.S. Agent.
Yeah.
Like, he's doing a great job in the role. I get that, like, you're heavily invested in the MCU. I am too. Look at me. I am a nerd who buys comics. I have a shield that is Captain America. I have multiple Marvel Funkos in this room and in my living room. Like, I get it. I'm invested. But, like, death threatening Wyatt Russell? He's playing a character. Like, why are we going after him?
Like, when I think of,
why are we going after anyone?
I think the fact that he's a character that you hate is amazing. It means that he's doing his job exactly as he should.
I don't even hate him yet.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Like, he's getting there.
From what I've seen, he will get there, I feel like.
I'm looking forward to see him flip.
Yes.
Like, him break bad.
Right now you see that he's like, he's trying to do the right thing, but you can see that he's got some not great tendencies.
Yeah. And, like, I look forward to seeing him actually going full out bad. But I also think of other characters who people hated. Like Joffrey. People hated Joffrey. They didn't hate the actor. At least not as far as I remember. They didn't send death threats to him every single day.
I mean, this is part of the same thing that happened with Kelly Marie Tran. And I'm like, this is just stupid shit.
Yeah, that was just stupid shit.
Well, this is stupid shit too. This is also stupid shit.
Yeah.
Like, this is why it is a character in a source of media that you are consuming. If you don't like the character in it, either skip the parts that are in it or just don't watch the media in the first place.
Actually, I lied. It does say here that the actor for Joffrey did receive death threats for being such a good actor.
I figured as much. I didn't want to say it out loud, but I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if there were. Again, it's just stupid shit. Like, if you don't like it, just don't consume it. Don't go berating the people who are portraying the characters that they are written to portray. Like, get over yourself. Not everything's about you. Fuck off. That's what I have to say about that.
Yeah. So yeah, there's that. Fuck off, you children.
And then you also watched the Black Widow trailer, right?
I did, yes. So Black Widow trailer, that one I actually was interested in because, well, timelines is a thing I have questions about.
I think I know when it's supposed to take place, but not 100% sure yet.
I feel like it almost has to take place in the 5 years. But yeah,
It takes place after Civil War,
after Civil War, but before
before
Endgame
Infinity
or
War.
Infinity War. Okay, I could see that because that's something that they did very intentionally. I could tell with this comic or with this trailer was not give a definitive timeline to keep you guessing and make you want to come in and like figure it out. But there's definitely enough like people in it to make me think that it's early enough in like the MCU's history. I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll see. But
I'm
I
curious
definitely
too,
look
but
forward to it.
I would guess Civil War because like William Hurt is in it
Mhm.
as Thunderbolt Ross. And also if it was during the 5-year gap, there wouldn't have been as much people and there would have been blonde hair. I know they can CGI it out,
Mhm.
but if her hair is that length, there would be blonde in it and it would be towards the tail end of that era, which obviously that she's not getting hunted down during.
Mhm. Who's the speaking of hunting down? Do we know who the masked man is who's hunting her?
Who Taskmaster is yet?
Okay, yeah,
That is
Taskmaster.
Taskmaster.
Okay.
We don't know who that character. We know that it's Taskmaster, but we don't know who's behind the mask yet.
Okay. Yeah.
That has not been revealed. I mean, someone might have been cast in the role that I haven't until I see it in a trailer. I don't go looking, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I hear you. Taskmaster, he's the one who can mimic anybody, right?
Who learns people's fighting techniques? Yes.
Okay.
And gets his ass beat by Deadpool because Deadpool is just unpredictable.
And Moon Knight is crazy, and he can't mimic Moon Knight because I'm not gonna get into it. That's someone else's bit.
Well, wait till we get to Moon Knight.
Yeah. But the reason I was confused is because he just looked a lot like Ronan to me, or at least every depiction of Ronan that I've ever thought of. He
Like
just
Ronan from the comics
Yeah.
slash Hawkeye.
Yeah, like the next
Oh,
evolution. So I know he wouldn't be chasing Natasha. Like that's not how it would work. That doesn't fit in the timeline. But I was like, he's a swordsman. He's an archer. He wears a mask that you could see his hair.
he
in.
also he does he?
No,
He's just got a hood.
Yeah.
No, what I with him, it's that he's got caps, shield, he's got a shield and stuff like that. He mimics fighting styles that he can mimic.
Mm-hmm.
And if he can get the tech, he gets the tech to mimic others. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a little bit of Stark tech on him too.
Oh, of course, it has to happen. Stark is literally the problem with everything.
I mean, Armor Wars is coming, so yeah.
More Ultron, baby. I mean, White Vision.
No, I doubt it. It's probably going to be what we're gonna probably get is Rhodey and Ironheart teaming up, hunting down people who have gotten like Stark tech throughout the years and started making their own suits. Which maybe we get the return of Justin Hammer,
Who's Justin Hammer?
Iron Man 2.
Whiplash, or the
The guy
kid?
who made the guy who makes Whiplash.
Okay. Okay. Maybe.
I'd like to see him back because he's entertaining in that movie. We call it The Ex-Wife.
And then it does nothing.
That movie is, despite it not being the best MCU movie, is better than I think people think it is. It's not great, and it does too much of the trying to build up the universe without building up the movie that we complain about in certain things. 100% does it in that movie. But it's still fun.
It's still fun. A lot of MCU movies are still fun in the end. The only one where I say, like, the only ones where I can argue that they aren't are maybe the first two Thor movies.
I can argue the first Thor, the second Thor, not as much, but it has fun bits. But as an overall experience, I can't always go away being like, that is the lowest bar, and it's just kind of a meh. Like, it's kind of an upper meh. It's kind of a meh. It's not like a meh. You know what I mean? Like I would to like parts of the DC. Like it's more of a meh. It's there. If you want to watch it. And it's better now too that it's like tied into an Endgame and stuff like that. So it's got like more purpose and stuff, which is kind of cool.
Though I gotta say, watching Falcon and Winter Soldier right now, I said it in Twitter. My favorite thing is how they are so grounded and like human with the problems that are going on. Like Bucky is having identity and depression and anxiety issues, and Sam,
PTSD, he's got it all.
yeah, and like Sam is dealing with like survivor's guilt mixed with like imposter syndrome as well as racism and like
And dealing with the financial system of coming back post blip.
yeah, like it's so fascinating to watch this stuff, and it's literally the stuff that I've been complaining, like wanting the whole time, which I can understand in the MCU movie. Fuck, I can't talk today. I can understand why in the MCU movies why we don't have them, because we need to get to the big moments and we have to get the plot.
And the only one we've had post Endgame is Spider-Man Far From Home,
mm-hmm.
which takes place further down the timeline.
Yeah, the
so people have had more time to, I guess, like adapt to the world.
I kind of want it. It has to be a Disney Plus thing, but I want something in the 5 years that's just the people. I don't want superheroes. Maybe like it could be the superhero rehabilitation stuff that we could kind of see that Cap was doing in the beginning with the regular people. But like now that we could see some of the more like general people, like we got to fall in love with the people of Westview, even though they were under mind control. Like, and we can fall in love with the simplicity of the Sam and Bucky stories. Like, I would love to see what if they brought back Ashley Johnson and like had her character from the first Avengers movie, from the cop in the diner deleted scenes. Like what if they brought her back and had an episode that was about her character or something, like, and how she survived the 5 years, stuff like that. Like, I know that's not what anyone would care about but me, but I think it'd be interesting.
The thing I would want from it is and again, this is something from Kind of Funny that they said that I'm like, you know what? Do it that way. Is a documentary.
Yes, I would 100%. It'd have to be like a mockumentary kind of. But,
in a sense, but I mean, it's a make it a canon documentary in the MCU.
Absolutely.
So like in Spider-Man, like it's a documentary that they're watching, kind of thing. That we get to, like, eventually we can watch that ourselves, kind of thing.
100%.
And have it, or like in Ant-Man and Wasp Quantumania, like, you know, let's say the daughter has has that on Blu-ray, something like that, and just has it on, stuff like that. Like, even if you don't have it fully made, just hint at it and stuff like that, and then release it down the line on Disney Plus. Like, I would eat that up, because that would be awesome. Because like that's the only way I see us doing that is a documentary. I don't see it being a full-fledged series.
Yeah, I would 100% watch it as a documentary. Like, yes, I just want something in between that 5 years, because we don't really have anything that shows the despair and the like all the stages of grief and whatnot.
No offense, I think because of, again, I don't think it would work in a movie or a long-running series, because I think it would just be too depressing.
Yeah, I can agree with that, honestly.
That would be rough. like,
dude, watching documentaries now sometimes is rough. Have you watched any ocean documentaries that were made in the last few years?
No, and I don't want to, because I know how bad it is.
You should.
It's awful.
The one that I would recommend is the documentary about, God, I can't remember his name. Nature conservationist, British, Sir, can't remember. British nature God, I can't find it. Attenborough. I just remembered it as I was typing it up. Like, Attenborough has a documentary, David Attenborough, about him and his life through nature conservation, and talks about how literally when he first started, the amount of stuff on the world was like there was 80% wilderness to 20% civilization. And then just as the generations progress, and like he talks about how his job as a conservationist and like as a television host got harder and harder, because not only were they actually doing things, because in the beginning it was like, no one's ever been in the jungle, let's videotape being in the jungle. No one's ever been to the heart of this city, let's been to the heart of this city. Like, that's just stuff they could do. But then as time progressed and there was less nature because of civilization expanding, and just less things that were original to TV because more and more people were doing television shows, it just got more difficult. But the hardest part on him was literally just how much we got rid of civilization, like, or how much we got wilderness. Yeah, like they said, I think between like the 1950s and the 1980s, we covered more than like 50% of the available wilderness that we had. And it's like, I don't remember the exact amount because it's been at least a few months since I've watched, but it was hard to watch. Like, it was really depressing. And it's not helping that it just keeps happening.
Well, on top of that too is that like the reason why things keep expanding that way is because we keep making it so that the it's a lot of, listen, there's a lot of I'm not going to get political with it because it's going to be a long drawn out conversation with me.
We've already had a long podcast that half of the people can't hear.
Yeah, come on, like you're going to have to cut that.
Yep, it's going to be edited. It's going to be music and then oops, Monster Hunter got this rating. Here you go.
You being like, all right, so something happened. Here are some good bits of Dev. Just cut to the best bits of me going, I hate it. It's worse. It's as bad as Death Note, all that kind of stuff, and then we'll edit to where you're like, and then we started Monster Hunter. Still didn't realize.
And then I'll figure it out in post. It'll be
and
fine.
Dev is yelling here about some hot take, and then all of a sudden, I realized and then, I fucked up.
Yeah. Did you see that edit in your recent video?
That was great.
I've been enjoying editing your videos sometimes. Yeah. Sexy Volus.
Volus doesn't refer to species, refers to to last name.
We're so dumb sometimes.
Dude, you fucking tripping was the greatest thing fucking ever. It was so dumb. And I know I couldn't stop laughing afterwards because it was just like I would laugh and then Jay would laugh and then I'd be like,
yeah, it just bounced back and forth. I had to cut it most of because that laughter kept going on.
Oh, I know.
Like I had to cut most of it.
It was a good bit. Like, but it was amazing. Don't kill me on that.
Speaking of not killing me, next week's movies. So,
oh fuck me.
Yeah, baby.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I want to watch these now.
Next week's movies are going to be some of the movies. Like, I grew up with scary movies. My mom made me watch all of these movies. I'm not going to do that today.
Same.
Yeah. But
watch through the series. Don't worry.
Yeah. But next Monday, we're watching Friday the 13th 7. Jason Takes Manhattan, I believe is that one. And then Friday the 13th 10, which I have dubbed Jason in Space. So get ready for that. These are arguably the worst ones, and I'm making us watch them.
Why do you do these things?
Because it was funny.
Who hurt you?
Let me go to a therapist first, and eventually I can answer that question.
You know what? You know, the men will literally do this instead of go to therapy. Steven's thing is he will make me watch shit movies before going to therapy.
Who hurt you? Who hurt you?
I'm over here actually seeing a fucking therapist. You're over here like, Dev, let's watch this shit movie.
It'll help me hide from my feelings.
No, I don't wanna. I don't wanna do this. All right, hit the fucking. Let's outro out. Whatever.
All right,
we're
yeah,
done
we're
here.
getting out of here, everybody. So,
It's a long show.
yeah, thank you. You're awesome. Godzilla versus King Kong.
You know
or
what? It's gonna be a
versus
long
Kong.
show for us, but the edited version is not gonna be beyond like the normal length.
Yeah, it's gonna be a normal length podcast for everyone
Fuck
else.
me!
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Oh,
Fuck you!
oh, I'm sorry.
I hate you.
I'm
This
sorry.
is your fault.
It is.
It's gonna be shorter than 2 hours for the edit, isn't it? Because we got about 51 minutes in before you realize.
Yeah, it's literally our average podcast length is about an hour and 40 minutes, and that's about how long this is gonna be because we're at 2 hours and 40 minutes right now.
Fuck.
Uh,
Longer than both the movies.
Yep. But we talked about both the movies this time.
Did we?
Totally.
Did we?
Yeah.
The world may never know.
The world may never know. Okay, yeah, we're getting out of here. So yeah.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. See you next week. Or tomorrow, if you show up for the horror podcast at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
8:30 Eastern.
Okay, bye.